Welcome back, esports fans, to the Overwatch Carbon Series. Gilfrost here, and after a short break, I'm feeling rested and invigorated for another series, our final series of this event. ZP, Hex, we made it. We're into arguably the best match of the series. How are you feeling?
Feeling great. It's the grand finals, and what more can you ask for here, where we've seen a redemption story in Immortals where they started out the OCS a little bit weak, found their groove towards the very end, and have found their way against LG Evil, the juggernaut of the entire series, where they dropped only one game during the regular season, and they dropped in a case where they didn't really need to win anyways to maintain their #1 seed. So it's all going to come down to this.
Don't need sleep, don't need energy drinks. I'm running on pure hype right now, and this is exactly the matchup we expected. As I mentioned in the very first pregame, I think this is what everyone was going into, and it's hard to argue that these aren't the two best teams in the tournament fighting for the grand finals, which is always what you want. Only a best of 5, though, so as good as LG Evil has looked, Immortals has upset potential.
They do indeed, and before we get too deep into this matchup, we do have a little bit more housekeeping to do, and it is going to be coming in the form of the Viewer's Choice Award. So we did 3 earlier, we've got 3 more to do right now, and if I do say so myself, I think these are 3 of the best. That fail is hard to beat. And we're going to start off, though, with most impactful hero. And there are obviously a whole field of heroes to choose from. It's not going to be Torbjorn, sorry, spoiler alert, although he did have a few impactful plays. It is going to be Genji as the most impactful hero. We'll break it down a little bit more, but let's watch some Genji plays from the course of the season.
That's not the rocket that usually goes for.
Team Liquid looking like they're going to force the issue. Here comes Nanoblade on the Shatter. Picks up 2 immediately with 1 swipe. Devastating stuff from Shatter as he picks up 3. Ready for this next fight.
Oh! But Ube did some good work on this Genji, a little more impactful than his Tracer been, and then Super Pluke just playing whatever he wants and adding in the extra hit scan damage on a Soldier 76. They've got great control of the high ground. Good first pick on Jur.
A surgical execution, and he picks up a second. He's taking out both supports. Ube in God mode right now. Finds 4, 5, is he the full 6? Ube completes the 6K. Wow.
That last play, by the way, second runner-up, but
And it's definitely worth noting that the best play was actually in the beginning. It's just we couldn't show it. You just had to imagine what was going on there.
It was too brutal for your consumption, so yes. You're welcome, everyone, for blocking that one for you. The next one we've got here, well, actually, you know what? Let's break it down. What do you guys think about that? Do you think Genji's been the most impactful hero this season?
It's hard to make an argument against it. Of course, my bias would always lead me to Tracer being just as good and impactful as Genji, but when you get 6-man wipes on a consistent basis, and the fact that we've had so much assault in Genji, I've said time and again, really good at closing out assault, probably, yeah, the most impactful. And we've seen teams that don't have a Genji struggling to find Genjis.
Well, Genji has certainly been one of the biggest stories for sure when you take a look at how teams have been trying out new Genji players over the course of the entire series throughout multiple different teams, not just Complexity, though Complexity went through like 5. Slight hyperbole, but they did go through a lot of players. So it has been a test for teams figuring out who is going to play a Genji, how effective are they going to be, and we've definitely been treated to some great plays over the course of the OCS from that hero in particular.
Yeah, and Tracer maybe getting honorable mention there is another very important hero, but yeah, it would be hard to argue against Genji. Well, the next one is going to be the best play, and this one was selected. We had a lot of great plays this season, but this one you selected as our best play of the Overwatch Carbon Series.
Take it back is Renegades. There is Mega.
Oh my God, got two already. Looking for another. Shake, not able to get away. The barrage has the finisher. Mid-air rockets, not a problem. That's like, I'm done. Done. Just like Torque there. I'm just done.
You know my fair bias.
Yeah, and in case you missed that actual game, that's like one clip of very many rockets that were landing, so that has a greater context for sure.
Hex and I have watched a lot of Overwatch over the last year, and let me tell you that you will not find a finer, fairer round than that particular round. And that's part of the conundrum for Renegades on a side note, where they live by the Mangachu and they die by the Mangachu, but they were living it up quite large on that particular Nepal round. Although, spoiler alert, they did end up losing the map, so it does show some of the problems Renegades has. But for that particular round, it was a nice play by Pharah over the entirety of that Shrine stage.
Yeah, and there were a lot of other great plays. Check the clips, and of course on social media we'll be tweeting out more, and we have been tweeting out quite a few plays here. And that brings us to, drumroll please, our final award from the viewer's choice, and that is MVP. And so this is your choice at the best player of this entire season. And we saw a lot of great play. And so I'm going to go through a few people. We're going to go through the honorable mentions here officially. So the second runner-up for this award is going to be Grim Reality. And then the other one, of course, being Jesus, was second place in the standings. And they both played amazing seasons. But that means we still have our number one slot. Who was the MVP for this season? And if Genji was our hero of the season, then it's only apropos that Jake be the one that cleans up this award. He had a great season. He played more than just Genji, but certainly stood out on Genji here in the Overwatch Carbon Series. Let's watch a few of his Genji plays and plays at large.
Try and get something on the back line, but look at this. Hammers, highly aggressive. Jake picks up 4.
But the combination of Jake and Route 420 in the sky is going to make it very difficult as Jake continues to run wild. As we learn some about these new players, we'll see what Nesh can get done on his Dragon Blade. Here it comes.
Dragon Blade coming in. It is high noon as Jake picks up 3. Sometimes all you need is a cowboy. He gets the 4th for good measure. Death and destruction left in Jake's wake.
Well, Jake comes in, tack visor going on.
Nano visor in on this fight. Hype, though, gonna be neutralizing a lot of it there. Ends up giving him his mech for the cause, and still, he's able to pick off effectively 2 between the mech and the support kill, and Jake finds 3 anyways. We have a fair battle in over the top. Jake versus Spray, and he hits him! And now 2 unanswered kills hill from Hammer as goes into that backline, gets stunned, but manages to live, finds Nomi. They don't finish their plate after the stun, and Jake finishing it out for Hammers instead. LG Evil trying to take advantage here. They don't have as much of an edge, but Electric Cowboy suddenly, and Nomi just gets melted. If they get too aggressive, Grim is going to punish them horribly, and we're seeing here from Jake, trying to turn this back around. Dragon Blade up and at the ready. Has 2, looking for more, picks up the 3rd. Super getting played there by Fluke, and here comes Dragon Blade by Jake, trying to pull it back and takes down 2. So it's a swift strike by Jake with 3. And that is quite the Dragon Blade to pull things around, and no. Well, here comes the Graviton as Jake piling through, cutting away all of that meat in that Graviton. So even though Megachu uses Attack Visor, gonna get very little done compared to Jake, who followed through on Vol's Graviton about as well as you can expect. Yes, Jake.
And there it is. A lot of great Genji plays. Also, notably, one of the best McCrees we actually saw here. Definitely probably had the best McCree ultimate of the series. But what are your thoughts about Jake, seeing him as our MVP?
One of the best players on the best team, already makes you a candidate for MVP, but he really embodies why this team is so dangerous. His versatility, that clip showed it. He ran everything at a very high level. All of those DPS. It allows LG Evil to run more comps more comfortably than any other team.
Well, let's just be clear on one thing here, is that in Overwatch, when you look at DPS players tend to have a tilt. They either are more projectile-based or they are more hit-scan-based. The fact that Jake has been able to go throughout this entire series and show us both ends of the spectrum, both to high degrees of competency, that makes him a bit of a unicorn in Overwatch sense. There's a very elite group of players that can attest to being very good at both. And Jake, while perhaps not as great as some of the very biggest names in the scene that you would associate with that, has definitely made a very good name for himself and his ability to play both roles. So it's been exciting watching him develop over the course of the series.
It's also very likely that Jake and this team are still getting better. They're still on the rise.
Yeah, and those are the reasons, though, that he was chosen as the MVP, I think, by you guys. I guess I don't know the reasons you chose him, but I'm going to have to guess that those were at least factors. And it likely would have been the factors we might have even selected him if it was up to us to choose that. Well, we are going to be watching him, as it turns out here, as LG Evil. They want to defend their 9-1 record, and Immortals, they want to find themselves on top of the pack in our last matchup of this event. It's going to be LG Evil versus Immortals. Let's take a look at some action from these two teams facing off against each other throughout the regular season.
Coming in. That's going to ruin the entire ship. They just sunk the battleship back. If they get too aggressive, Grim is going to punish them horribly. And we're seeing here from Jake, trying to turn this back around. Dragon Blade after that already. Has 2. Looking for more. Picks up the 3rd. Full energy with the nano boost and just melting down the remnants. Immortals. Oh, goodbye, agilities. Suddenly the Dragon Blade comes out. The boop has been used. The boop ineffective. Jake slashing. Two kills on the payload. Why not? Not going to be enough to delay. And Immortals finishes out Gibraltar.
But here's a grab locking them into the doorway. No cleanup really yet. There's Train on the whole hog with the huge cleanup.
Hammers going in for the kill right now. Train on fire. Goes into that back line. Gets stunned, but manages to live. Finds Nomi. They don't finish their point into the stun. And Jake finishing it out for Hammers instead. And this could be the finisher. Diving in. That's it. Hammers taking the series.
There, of course, an homage to the former name of the team that we're now known as LG Evil of Hammers. And they have swung the hammer indeed plenty in this event. But let's go ahead and jump into this matchup as we're into the grand final of the Overwatch Carbon Series. And it is going to be Immortals versus LG Evil. Let's take a look at Immortals roster first as we dive in here. And there's one player that I really want to highlight coming into this as we talk about the MVP. We had Grim Reality on that list, and of course Jake taking it away. But I have to give Agility some major props because amongst this roster and amongst the field of players at large, he has really stood out as well. Of course, playing Genji a lot, as well as Roadhog primarily. But what are your thoughts about this Immortal roster?
Well, I would agree with you, and I know ZP has some thoughts on the tanks as well, but Agilities has been the major part of their upswing in the last several weeks. Grim needs space, period. When the tanks can't provide that for him, Agilities has to open it up. He has to take some of the focus off of Grim. And also, when Grim is getting focused, punish them for it. Punish them with your second DPS, and that's what Agilities has done.
Well, the latter point is what I was going to go in on here, in that the teams have realized that part of how you can deal with Immortals is that you really deep dive Grim. We've seen games where Grim is sitting there running for his life with 3 people on him. But here's the key, is that if you're overcompensating that much to get rid of 1 DPS, you now have created opportunities for the rest of your team to shine, and that's where Agilities will come in on heroes like Roadhog and pick up 2, 3 kills in one go. Or, of course, as we're seeing in the montage, he does play a bit of Genji as well. While Grim is getting focused, it gives Agilities plenty of room to work with, and oftentimes he's very successful in punishing teams for trying to isolate Grim that hard.
Yeah, and the big question for them then is if, you know, one of your characters or heroes, players rather, getting focused that hard, what are the rest of you doing? Because we see even Jake getting focused hard sometimes, and then the rest of his tanks, Vol and Train specifically, are getting work done, and we have seen Agilities do that. We're just going to have to see Immortals firing on all cylinders coming out here. But let's take a look at the player to watch. It is going to be Nami coming into this one. You talk about the importance of tank play in enabling your DPS, and where does Nami sit on that spectrum as far as enabling DPS?
If you're looking at Immortals and trying to figure out if they're going to win or lose a fight total, look at Nomi and look at his health status, because Immortals does this thing where oftentimes they are a little bit more spread out than other teams, and it leads to Nomi being a little bit far out and getting picked off more so than he probably should. The nights where Immortals has done badly and has underperformed relative to the standards that we think that they usually live up to are nights where Nomi is dying pretty early in the fight for free, not taking anyone with him, not really causing a distraction, because whether it be on him or Immortals not being on the same page with their tanks, he falls first and the rest of Immortals falls shortly thereafter. Conversely, when they do well, what we see from Immortals is that Nomi is staying alive for longer, and the rest of Immortals, they're more successful on going on their own paths, and they take fights rather decisively. So more than anything else, he is at least a leading indicator of how a fight is going to go for Immortals.
I completely agree. I think some of his comfort on Winston has been questionable. There's situations where you'd like to see him switch to Winston, but a lot of that is the rest of the composition has to switch with him. Notably, Hollywood comes to mind, and Hollywood's second when we saw them yesterday. He got beat up on because he was all alone, and you can't run a Reinhardt all alone against 3 diving DPS. It just doesn't work that way. He got shredded that way, but maybe you switch him to Winston, but that's also conditional on what the rest of the team wants to do. If they're not going to play with you as Reinhardt, just switch off Reinhardt.
Yeah, and then with Winston, though, you also see that a lot more with triple DPS comps, dive comps, and they have not utilized that very well coming in here. Well, I want to move this along, so let's talk about LG Evil's roster coming into this one, as they have certainly been firing on all cylinders coming into this game. 9-1 in the regular season, losing only one game to Team Liquid at the very end of the season, and some would say they were not in full force coming into that one with their eyes firmly set on the playoffs. But what are we looking at as far as LG Evil's roster coming into this one, CP?
Well, one thing I really want to point out, especially in light of the last matchup that we saw here, you now have both rosters in front of you if you're just joining us here in the grand finals. And you know what linking factor they have between these two final teams? Neither of these teams changed their roster throughout the entirety of the OCS. They both came in with these locked-in rosters. And yes, it's easy to keep these rosters consistent when you are winning games. You don't feel as compelled to change. But there's also something to be said for your teams being able to play on a higher level when you're not worried about who your off-tank and second DPS is every other week, or it changes every week.
Consistency and stability have been the staples for both of these teams. Immortals maybe less so, but you look at LG Evil, they've been dropping more sets than they did. Of course, they exploded onto the scene and didn't drop an entire set in the first Overwatch Monthly Melee they were invited to. They've dropped 1 or 2 sets, actually one to the Immortals team in the most recent OMM, so they are beatable by this Immortals squad. The thing I worry about LG Evil going through this set in particular, again, it's a best of 5, and they've notably started slow in a couple of different situations.
Yeah, both of these teams actually at certain circumstances seem to need to get their wheel turning a little bit before they really can get going. And we're going to be watching them here in just a second. I do want to go over LG Evil's player to watch, as Nami is the player to watch coming against them. It is going to be Super in the Reinhardt v. Reinhardt battle that is going to be our player to watch for LG Evil. And contrasting him with Nami, what have we seen from Super throughout the course of this event?
Super has, if nothing else, been consistent. He's had moments for this LG Evil squad where he has been absolutely dominating. And we saw a little bit of that just yesterday against Renegades, where he was getting the better of Juvenile in almost every fight, landing very good Earth Shatters, defending counter Earth Shatters, and having just the right amount of aggression that his supports were able to keep him alive with on the slimmest of margins. So in general, what you can see from Super is that he's a tank that knows his limits, knows exactly what he's going to be getting from his supports, and when he's playing well, is making plays almost every other fight. And it was a beauty to watch yesterday.
The second hero to watch here should also be Rob 420, as he gives Super all the support he needs, but Super uses his aggressive nature and his perception as an aggressive player to his benefit, too. He's absolutely baiting out some of these Earth Shatters where he flicks the shield just a little bit, because there's a lot of times where Super will drop the shields, and then he's just coming at you and swinging the hammer. But now he drops the shield, waits a second, puts it back up. Now your Earth Shatter is down. He's counter Earth Shattering, a very cerebral player on the Reinhardt.
Yeah, he can be aggressive, of course, but he's also knows when to be reserved and when to just do his job as that tank. And we've seen that be a struggle for other teams where it has not been a struggle for LG Evil coming into this matchup. We do have our first map, and I've been wanting to bring this up because of the earlier performances we've seen from these teams, but it is going to be Hollywood coming out. And earlier in the season, Immortals got spawn camped on first. You know, we've seen a lot of second spawn camps from the defense. They got spawn camped on first. They looked a lot stronger in recent Hollywood performances, but what are we expecting out of these teams coming into map number 1?
Well, you mentioned the idea of spawn camping. Certainly Immortals is now going more aggressive on their own Hollywood defenses where they get in team's face. But I will say that I don't really expect that to be as effective versus LG Evil. LG Evil, if nothing else, likes taking as many fights as possible. They're not a team that sits there and goes, we're just going to look for a perfect engage. No, they try and get as many fights in. And it does lead to a case where you don't usually see LG Evil stuck in their spawn very often, if at all.
I think that spawn camp on first is kind of more one-off than the spawn camp on second. Once you know that the soldier is going to be up to the right, which is usually the initiator on a first spawn camp, that you can send someone up there and deal with it a little more. So I don't think we'll necessarily see that. Immortals has this interesting thing where they rotate around on Cafe on their offense and try to get everyone in there, but LG Evil is a team that watches game tape, so they should be absolutely prepared for it. LG Evil also runs a Torb somewhere on this, but I think if you believe Immortals was going to come around that side, then you don't run the Torb because it's just going to get crushed on. So both these teams have very interesting strategies. We could see spawn camp working for both of them. Immortals in second phase has to make an adjustment. They have to. They get crushed on second phase too often, and a lot of that is because they start scattering. They don't play a 6.
Yeah, no, and that's the point I was going to bring up, is the reason we've seen them doing that spawn camping, or that's been their recipe for success, is it buffers them from an area that they've had some weakness on. That said, Immortals has come out with different strategies, and they've definitely used this season, where other teams have been using it to tinker with their roster, to just fine-tune their current roster and to expand their play style and the different options they have.
Well, Immortals has locked it down. I think they were doing a lot more experimentation with 3 DPS setups earlier in the tournament. It did not work out all that well. I don't think they have the personnel to really do justice to that. And what we've seen in the last 2 weeks is that they've gone back more to their bread and butter, compositions that reflect a time really before this current meta, but they've been able to make it work. They've been running more 3-2-1 type setups. They've been letting Hyped run more Zarya and D.Va instead of trying to force him onto a Tracer, which he's frankly very hit or miss on. Now, long term, I think Immortals is going to have to figure out how to run those different compositions, but I think it's pretty clear that they've taken an approach of, we're going to lock down what we know we can play well, and we are going to ride this horse for win or loss in the OCS.
Yeah, they're going to lead with their best foot forward here coming into the finals, and we all get to bear witness to it as LG Evil is going to be facing off against Immortals here on Hollywood in just a moment. There are going to be a lot of plays, and of course, I want to remind you that if you are noticing some of these plays, make sure you're tweeting at GameCarbon with hashtag OCSPlays. We've got one more goodie bag yet to give away of all the gear that Blizzard was so gracious in giving us to pass along to you. So make sure you're tweeting at us as the plays are unfolding as we go into Hollywood in this best of 5 series for all of the marbles, so to speak. The hype is real, and I'm just glad I get to watch, and you guys are going to be calling all the action as it unfolds here.
Well, we're glad we get to watch too. I mean, we wouldn't do this if we didn't love watching some Overwatch, and we're going to be back in Hollywood. They make fine films here at Goldshire Studios. You know more about the Warcraft lore. What would be a name of a Warcraft film that came out?
Warcraft film that came out, well, in terms of, I don't know about anything that's in here in Overwatch, but you did have the Warcraft movie that came out, subtly titled Warcraft.
Well, fair enough. I hope for an Overwatch movie someday. The cinematics are just too good. I forget about them sometimes, but we've been watching them on the pregame stream. Of course, some options for the movies that Overwatch could make are on these posters. We all know my favorites here in Hollywood. This could be an interesting one where we've said that Immortals has generally struggled on it, which they have, but LG Evil has not looked like world beaters here either. So just to start off this set, it could be either team. And Lucio poster concerts, as we do go through our intro here.
Well, what I'm curious on here is to see if any of these teams have any pocket strategies, wrinkles that we haven't historically seen from them that perhaps they might have been saving up until this point, to this finals here, where, of course, both teams want to run away with the title of OCS champion. So perhaps we'll see some crazy stuff come out. Right now, though, it is looking relatively standard, and you take a look at Immortals, this is them running what worked out very well for them yesterday, where Hyped had an incredible game on Zarya. They're going to be running more 3-2-1 setup with Grim as the punching power in the back.
Grim is the punching power, but you also have Agilities is going to be aiding in that, as he's going to be on the Roadhog. So yes, they just 3 tanks, but Roadhog, that hybrid where he's able to do a lot of damage. As far as the attack goes, this is exactly what they run as well. They're going to throw in 3 tanks of their own. Jake will be on the Genji. Very likely a Jake versus Grim duo incoming here, as they will start trading off Poke.
And for Jake, he just likes building up his ultimate as quick as possible. It doesn't usually go super deep, but now there's an opportunity. Reinhardt very low to start this out, and they're not able to finish off Nomi. He gets healed up, and Agilities is there for the punish. So 5 versus 5 early on, but Train getting Grim down very early. This bodes well for LG Evil as they trade out evenly on this point.
If they can continue the trades, that is a nice hook as Agilities takes down his counterpart here. So the defense will be stabilizing. The chase late from Hyped will get both Avast and Bull. Cannot say enough about Hyped's Zarya lately.
Well, we're seeing more of what we saw yesterday, where Hyped came out and was playing Zarya very well, was the backbone of damage, and is able to pull that out even as Grim goes down early in the fight. So even when Grim falls, there's other DPS options here for this Immortal squad, and we see them coming in again for LG Evil, and they might just throw this Nano boost here on the Super. They're a team that does like running Nano Ryan a little bit more frequently, and with this opportunity, they're going to dive right onto this point.
They will push back, and Earthshatter will come in as Jake gets pushed all the way through Cafe there. 2 kills come down immediately for Immortals. There's a 3rd fight over.
Pretty decisive coming out here from the side of Immortals, and a nice Earth Shower by Nomi to stop Jake from doing what he really wanted to do there. Now, going to this next fight, Hex, Hype is going to have that Graviton up.
This is what you want to do. You want to be able to stagger them if at all possible. I've mentioned how important I think Earthshatter and Graviton both are. However, on the other side, they've got them both.
While Graviton v Graviton is when the name of the game here, a tale of two vortexes, if you were, but Hyped getting knocked right down. It's a great Earthshatter by Super, setting the stage for 3 kills. Vol there with the counter, or the fall through Graviton to finish out the rest of it. And Grim, though still alive, will have to abandon his cafe. He didn't even finish drinking his coffee.
Can't grab from the grave, as that is a nice kill onto Hype to prevent any of that from coming in. You're looking to close out first point. They will do so. And it's the Super Show. Yesterday, it was, again, sometimes of all the people who start slow on this team, it is generally Jake. He has to warm up, and his DPS can be slow, but Super comes out swinging out of the gate.
Well, here comes Hyped. No mercy in him. Immediately rolling forward for the Graviton. The rest of Immortals there with the fall through, as it is Nomi charged up, swing the hammer into that Graviton Surge, and letting Immortals take a pretty aggressive posture here. So they're going to challenge LG Evil here, even as Grim Reality gets back and maybe gets to finish his coffee now.
The aggressive wriggle, maybe, unless his table got bust while he was up and gone. So right now they're going to try to get the shield war going early on. It's going to be interesting to see how Evil's able to handle this spawn camp. Some teams have not been great at it. Jake already down. There goes Train. A couple of kills as they used a sound barrier to set up this camp.
Well, Immortals, we were curious if they were going to try and lock LG Evil in, and for now it appears they're doing just that. Grim back to his old spot, laying in plenty of damage into that next fight, and the key here is that this is going to force LG Evil to use some degree of resources to break out of this cleanly, which is exactly what Immortals is going for here. What comes in, does not connect, and they have to blow the sound barrier right here out of spawn. And Immortals gonna try and back out of this.
Sound barrier, nano, a whole lot of things down. That's one of the purposes of spawn camping, to make sure the other team use resources and positions they don't want to use them. Now the cleanup coming back in from Hyped.
They're rolling back in. Grim holding on to Attack Visor. He can get right back up on that high ground and just lay in the damage, as Immortals is actually trading this out relatively evenly. They don't have to give up their position here just yet, as Vol throws out the Graviton. Will suck in a handful, but the fall through is not there, and that Graviton is all but wasted.
It was at a Graviton into a Nano Visor, but as you mentioned, no follow-up there. Vast finally takes down Grim. They do get a couple, so maybe able to break this finally, but it's been rough going for LG Evil getting out.
LG Evil now starting to get some presence on the point, but they've had to fight for every inch. It's a beautiful delay coming out here from Immortals. And Immortals, take a look at Hype. He has a Graviton up for the next fight. He just lobs it right in, pulls in 3, but the fall through not necessarily there. Here comes Jake on the counter. Dragon Blade to the back, picks up 2, looking for more. Dash resets in, and he takes a face full of scrap there at the very end, and still Immortals doing their best to just make LG Evil pay for every inch.
This is the stage where they struggle on, though, which is why you see them spawn camping. That's been a great boon to their Hollywood success. Grim is now onto the Tracer, getting good damage done, and they're finally coordinating together, getting back here as a team. When they struggle is when you see people starting to freelance a little too much, and that includes a secondary tank like Hyped, which is why you see Nomi struggle in this area often.
I do like Grim freelancing more on the Tracer, just because mobility-wise, it's a little bit harder for Grim to find himself way out of a fight like he does sometimes on Soldier and McCree, where he's just gone for too long. But now Grim's coming in from the back looking for the pulse bomb, but the rest of LG Evil rolling in off of this Nano Whole Hog. They don't get what they're looking for. Now Immortals counter-engaging with the sound bear of their own. Nomi going to the back, looking to drop an Earth Shower, but might not even have to.
No need. He's gonna keep it up and stagger it. Nomi gets slept and woken immediately, and here's Grim in the backlines on the cleanup. Meanwhile, Train and Vol did get some kills going, so very scrappy over here. A nice lofted pulse bomb will not finish off a Zarya.
LG Evil, they're not really getting fully wiped here, but they're struggling so much to push Immortals out that every bit of carton pushing is taking them quite a while. Graviton Surge coming out late here, and Vol getting the treatment here in the back. Gonna go down to that Graviton Earthshatter combos. Nomi picks up 3.
Almost got him on the longest charge you will ever see in your life. Oh, well, never mind. That was his own. I got so excited there because I'd never see a charge like that. Vol is having a rough one as far as Gravitons go. He has gotten 2 out there, and they've had no cleanup for it. And That has been unfortunate. We're getting down to it.
This is the last 15 seconds here. If LG Evil is going to have a good team fight, it needs to be now. Super, a lot on his back as he gets pulled in and is immediately taken down. Not going to be a game-winning Earthshatter coming in, at least at the moment, as LG Evil. Now, you look to Jake. He was our MVP. Moving in, Dragonblade out, looking for the Ana. Gonna take down Nathan immediately. Dash reset in, looking for the second support kill. He has to stay on the payload. He's sort of chained here as the rest of his team has to get back. He cannot leave it as we are in overtime.
While trying to knock everyone off is this whole hog, a great mobility ultimate. Still getting all the kills is this Complexity team. Super does hit a charge towards the end, but he is dispatched in short order. Halfway through Westworld is that push for LG Evil as the Immortals' Hollywood second defense has evolved, ZP.
You want to talk about improvement over a 5-week period. Look no further to Immortals, who at one point, Hollywood was very much not their map. They looked disheveled, they looked disorganized. You would see them part on high ground, part flanking. It just wasn't very good. And here, they've changed their entire dynamic where they've said, look, we're going to get in your face, we're going to challenge you on every inch of it and make things into more of a flanking brawl. And it works out well for them in just keeping LG Evil off their game and stops them very early into second. Now LG Evil is stuck in the situation of, if they don't hold first, doing a similar hold that Immortals just did is not going to be very obtainable for them, in all likelihood.
It can be very difficult for them. Yeah, Immortals has been slow to adapt, but those adaptations have been so impactful for them. And as you mentioned, Hollywood has been a different kind of map for them in recent history. LG Evil now has to go in all in on their defense. I still don't think you're going to see them running a Torb, which is something they toyed around with earlier, but have not been really running lately, and especially against Immortals, who you know what their style is going to be on this offense. Running a Torb, just might as well be running 5 heroes at that point. But this defense will set up in a very, very standard for LG Evil composition here. This is what they've been running on Hollywood. Offense, defense, doesn't matter.
I do think that this is going to get pretty dangerous for Jake, where you take a look at the setup. He will be freelancing on the Genji, mostly on his own, going to the back and building Dragon Blades, but Agilities is very, very good with his Roadhog play, very good at shutting down a lot of those flanks, so Jake is going to be working on a razor's edge here where Agilities can shut him down at any point, and if Jake is in the back line when that happens, it could set up a very unfavorable 6v5 opportunity for Immortals as they try and crack through.
Well, you've also got Grim on the McCree, which is great to see. One of the premier Overwatch McCrees in the entire game. Also can be a problem for Genji. Jumping around, you end up taking headshots, and when deflect's down, you're in trouble.
It's not a great scenario for Jake to be sure. He's going to have to weave through a whole lot of roadblocks here as Immortals just going to go through this back alley, charging right in this flashbang. Gonna come in over the top. Not gonna connect to the Zarya's shield as Agilities gets the early pick on Rob 420. Already the healing for LG Evil is in a bad spot. They lose Super as a result, and this could be a very clean early fight here for Immortals, as right now they're getting everything they want and more as Jake just takes one to the head.
Just what we prophesized there. Taking Rob down early was huge, but also Ethan hit a Bionade on most of that team. McCree doing enough to make Jake's life difficult early, and then to finish him later, that is about as clean of a take as Immortals can do. And I think it might even be like a counterplay, because they've been showing the right side rotation, not the left side, and perhaps LG Evil not prepared for that. Because right now, Immortals clearly in the driver's seat.
What more can you say when you lose your Ana immediately to a hook? It was a great pick by Agilities, and now Immortals just looking to steamroll through the area that LG Evil was stuck on for a while. LG Evil trying to bring it back. Both teams down to Reinhardt early on here. And I do believe a Graviton was just Ian, or am I crazy?
I do not believe you're crazy, because Hyped, there's no way that he just has 20% now after he was doing so much work, so it must have gone off and gotten eaten. Hyped will now die concurrently, still at Brawl on this card as Agility stays alive. If he gets a little more damage, he might go for a whole hog. Now he's got friends in here. Graviton comes in, but Bull again! Where's the follow-up?
The follow-through is not there, and Immortals going to keep this rolling right through.
Vol has used 3 Gravitons this game, and they've gotten 0 kills off of it.
Well, now Vol's on Tracer. I think this is just to try and get back to the point in time. Immortals in an absolutely crazily good position here. Zoning Deadeye out here from Grimmin. We're seeing blow the sound barrier a little bit early here. They lose Nomi. And I do wonder if Immortals got a little bit too gung-ho here, because now the sound barrier doesn't really get much. It's way too early, and LG Evil the potential to push this back.
This is what you need to see out of Jake, more pressuring the back line. They will put some sound barriers on everyone that allows Jake to live through that hook. Charge comes in, and now they are cleaning it up. LG Evil not dead yet, but they have to hold this point for a very long time. Could they be camping? Nah, they're not gonna camp. No setting up a tent right there.
Well, for LG Evil, they're going to have to hold onto this for 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Clearly doable, as we saw from the last round, but certainly difficult. Almost everything going to have to go their way pretty well here.
Need to start getting some pushback here. The hook is on cooldown. Be interesting to see if they go in off of that. Jake being very patient right now. Blade will come out.
Graviton coming in early into this fight for Immortals. Not getting quite as much as they want. Even trades here on all sides. Jake in the back of the Dragon Blade takes down one. Not going to get too much more than that early on, but does enough damage for Nomi that he's out of the fight as well. And LG Evil, though been bloodied, will be coming out of this as Jake dash resets for days into the back line. Going to pick up 3 before it's all said and done.
It's almost like he needs to warm up to get the confidence in his Genji to be as aggressive as he needs to be sometimes. Very early on, just sitting back with the poke, but now he's on fire, feels warmed up. And yes, it is a Herculean task in front of them, but that was 4 minutes, now down to 2:45. They're in position to maybe hold this. They've gotten a lot of push back on the card as well.
Meanwhile, Super holding on to the Earthshatter, coming in from the flank. You gotta think he wants to hit this, and no, the elevator, he's just gonna swing the hammer into it. Your feet are not safe. Super just there in time, and the high ground assault for Immortals not going to work out as there's no brakes on Super's train.
Just hobbling the Immortals offense as they try to come in, snapping ankles off the elevator. However, that went very wrong very quickly for Immortals, so they still have over 2 minutes left, but the momentum has clearly shifted in favor of LG Evil and didn't even have to use that Earthshatter. Jake almost has Blade up again.
Immortals coming right back in. Remember, LG Evil still doesn't have a whole lot of room to work with here. Deadeye in from Grim, looking for those happy little skulls. Protected, of course, into the back, and he's going to get absolutely nada. Meanwhile, Jake into the back, Dragon Blade out. Gets too early on. He's about to make this a third, slicing through. No agilities! Treats him to a meal of scrap. Unfortunately, though, Agility still has to go back to base in this situation.
He's part cyborg. He might eat scrap, some sort of cereal scraps. And, you know, iron is good. It's important to have iron in your diet.
It's true. So, LG Evil going to get a chance to regroup here. Jake now swapping to 76, no longer on the Genji. A little bit of a change up moving in here. Train still holding on to self-destruct, and this very well could just come in up and over the top. Vol holding on to the Graviton here once more as the Earthshatter drop down into the Graviton. It resulted in 3 kills.
Doesn't get much of a Train on the cleanup there. It has been Nomi, the only person still alive. Last person alive will throw down an Earthshatter here, but Jake over top will clear him out. And as good as that Earthshatter was, hitting 5, might would have liked to hold it for the next fight.
That's the thing where you feel good because you hit a lot of people, but it was still a bad Earthshatter in the sense that your team wasn't there for fall through. You've thrown away that ultimate unless you were really thinking you're going to be the hero and kill everyone. Meanwhile, though, LG Evil still not able to fully reestablish. You're going to need a little bit of delay from Train. Fireworks in over the top. Does not connect. Meanwhile, Agility takes down Jake, so a big opportunity for Immortals. They sense it. They drop the sound barrier as a result. Take a look at Hyped here. Holding on to the Graviton, and he lobs it. No, it's Eden! The Graviton not going to hit Smart. Train nomming it away, but that might be the only upside here for LG Evil as they are fully thrown off this point.
Agility switching on to Genji has been a revelation. He has been in Jake's face, getting the big cleanup in the back lines. Yes, his hog was good, but we highlighted Agilities coming into this set for a reason.
And that is going to be Immortals striking first blood in this best of 5. They take Hollywood right away from LG Evil, and they do it off the back of an incredibly good second point defense that was honestly smothering.
It's been a new Immortals team finding their issues on Hollywood and finding the answer for them. Super had a decent game early on that will earn him play of the game here. But they really, changing Agilities over to Genji is what broke that point for him when they were struggling. That was very likely their last push, CP.
Indeed, and they did throw Jake onto 76 at the end, but Jake ends up dying to that Genji in a one-on-one-esque matchup, so Jake going down, and I do like the timing there, where as soon as Jake fell in that fight, the sound barrier comes out, and they use it basically to finish out the fight and secure it.
Yeah.
No, they've had two difficulties on Hollywood there in second. First of all, the spread outness. They just haven't been able to find where they're going to fight, Immortals has. The other thing that they haven't dealt with very well is dealing with the high ground specifically. And you saw 76 on the high ground there actually punish them a little bit in some previous fights. They swap to the Genji. And one fight later, they are able to find victory there. And there's agilities, yeah, as you had mentioned, someone we were expecting big things from there. Other than that, yeah, let's talk about Super versus Nami. Did we see a lot of contrast from them in this matchup?
Well, I think Nomi definitely was not going out and getting killed quite as frequently early on. Super definitely had good moments. I would actually say from Rein perspectives, I thought both had pretty good Reinhardt games. I don't think either of them was really a problem here. If there was a problem overall, it was LG Evil just being somewhat discombobulated and getting fully together and breaking through that aggressive spawn strategy that Immortals was employing.
And you can look at the other off tanks too, and it was just a matter of which Zarya made the fewer mistakes, which I guess was hyped by a small margin, tossed it into his grab into the defense matrix. But Vol, you might as well have tossed him into the defense matrix. He was using them late in fights. There was no cleanup there, and I said you threw down 3 grabs. There were no kills off those.
I mean, the thing, not really so much in Vol's defense, but explaining why it can happen is that when you're not taking traditional fights, when you have these fights that are more brawls that have been going on for a while with flanking characters in your spawn, you have points as a Zarya where you think that you might have a team behind you ready to fall through, but in reality, you've been just not grouped up for a while, and that's where you'll see the gravitons where it's like, guys, I got 3 people. It's like, well, that's great. Let us follow that up from our spawn room. Not going to happen.
It has not been a good series for Graviton Surges, and it honestly hasn't been a good couple of weeks for Vol's Gravitons, but he has been able to find outside of ult play that has been able to bring it back for the team, and we just didn't see that here in this matchup. The other thing, IMT, you got to give them credit. They have really solidified this death ball that they have, and when they're not spreading out too much, I mean, they just moved right around the back side of first, and they're all staying together. Grim Reality, he's feeling comfortable back there. He's not feeling the pressure, and they just bust things wide open.
Well, I mean, for that push in particular, it's just Agilities who just walks in, boop, grabs one, fight already almost over because you've grabbed an Ana for free. Sometimes, though, it does backfire. Of course, we did see on second end, they took the elevator, which turned out to be the elevator of death, just getting crunched by a Reinhardt's hammer touching their toes. So sometimes doesn't work out, but certainly it did feel like Immortals had some pretty good approaches here in Hollywood.
They're an intelligent and prepared team, and I think that comes through on their play a lot of times, especially, I think, even in a microcosm, the Genji switch towards the end, knowing that Jake might be switching off and that you need to be able to take the high ground, and then getting that kill onto Jake was what broke it through for them.
Yeah, and then from there, it was the domino effect after that, and there was nothing they had to bring it back. I want to talk about Grim Reality real quick on McCree, as he was one of our runners-up for the MVP slot. I mean, it wasn't even necessarily the most striking part of that offense, but they did utilize it well. But how does Grim Reality fit into it now versus when he's had solo hero plays in the past?
Well, it's just kind of funny because a few times we've seen him on McCree in recent times, it's been Agilities having incredible games to where it's just like, we got a McCree. It's one of the best in the game. It's like, yeah, but Agilities just killed 3 people with Roadhog. You could put anyone in that slot at that point and you would probably finish out the fight. And that's not taking away from Grim at all. It's just those fights that we've seen recently, Agilities has had enormous openings.
You talk about that entry kill being so important for Agilities on the kill, but what brings that down is the dominoes of Overwatch, because he comes in with that flashbang. They have to shield the Reinhardt so that he can stay alive. That means there's no shielding for Ana or even the Genji who got picked up after that. So it's oftentimes it's about trading one ability for another. Trading flashbang for the Zarya allied shield opened up that fight for him.
Yeah, everything is connected there. They put together this composition, and it's not built around one person. It's built around multiple different ways for them to break through LG Evil, and they broke through them here in this one, up 1-0 against LG Evil. It's not the first time that LG Evil's been down in a series, but they've got to be sweating a little bit here just because of how strong that performance was from Immortals from the spawn camp and on. Well, we are, apparently there's some technical difficulties for, I believe, Jake.
There's some tornado
something
difficulties
about a tornado.
for Jake,
and this is not a drill. This is real life that we're living in. We are in Kansas, or we're not in Kansas.
Well, Jake might be in Kansas if the tornado's causing him not to play. That would be something.
But yeah,
hopefully it's just one of those days where they just do the alarms for whatever reason. I've lived in states where there's been tornadoes and there's a lot of false alarms, so that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it's like the grander equivalent of when you're in school and somebody pulls an alarm because they don't want to have a test.
Right.
Well, somebody didn't want to work in that city that day, you know, and so they went and they pulled the old tornado alarm. But that.
I don't think those exist.
No, this is how it works.
Tornado alarm.
I lived in Nebraska for like 9 months. Okay, I'm now an expert on it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and by the way, don't recommend that for everyone. If you're going to live in Nebraska, at least stay there, you know, for longer than 9 months. But other than that, yeah, we're going to be going into our next map here in just a bit, but I do want to go to a short break while we make sure we don't have anyone, Jake specifically, flying away or any of his computer equipment, because he's going to need those in this next match as LG Evil are going to try to tie things up 1-1. We'll see you after a short break. Welcome back, esports fans. I've got good news, multiple points of good news. In fact, first of all, Jake is indeed safe. It sounds like it was just a drill, or at the very least, the warning is no longer active for where he's at. His internet is great. That was literally the second thing I think he said. So that's important. It's probably better than my internet, honestly, at his university. And so we are able to give you the second point of good news, and that is we're going to be watching some more Overwatch here in just a bit. Welcome back, CP and Hex. How you guys feeling? You feeling safe still? Or?
Pretty good. Although we do now have extra valuable data where we know this. Acts of God cannot keep Jake down. However, Immortals, at least in map 1, was able to complete that task. So going into Assault, which at the beginning of the OCS was somewhat of a weak point for LG Evil, now they've improved over time. They're going to really be put to the test against Immortals, who generally has done all right on Assault maps. Yeah,
but potentially the delay kings of this event, they have had some monstrous delays against all odds, against acts of God, or at least acts of their opponents. And we're going on to Temple of Anubis is going to be this one. We saw Hanamura earlier, and after seeing how difficult second can be, maybe it's just me, but I'm actually glad to be seeing Temple of Anubis again. We had a little bit of a variety in our lives, but I'm confident that this is going to be something that these teams are going to bring more.
Well, Anubis is much less likely to draw, which I think everyone likes to have a decision at the end. They say a tie is like kissing your sister. I've never really understood that phrase very much, but we've seen all sorts of scores in Anubis here. We've seen 1-0s, we've seen 4-5s. It's been all over the place here, so I am actually somewhat happy to go to Anubis today.
Well, for Anubis, this will be the final time we see it here in the OCS. It'll be the final showing of Temple and what teams have done on it here. And what a story it would be for LG Evil if they did come out and win this, because if you were following OCS from the very beginning, this is the one case where even though LG Evil started out undefeated on a crazy winning streak, when they would lose maps, they would usually lose on Assault, or at the very least be held to a tie. So for LG Evil, I think it would be a kind of a cool story if they did come out and even up the series on Anubis.
It was one of their weak points, but they've made some composition changes. Of course, yesterday they ran a little bit of Reaper on last, which Liquid introduced to this tournament, and a lot of teams have copied that play out of that playbook. It's been working out very well for Anubis last, so it would not surprise me to see Reaper. Also, what's really great about this map is that you see a lot of Widowmaker too, and it's one of the few map modes that you see Widow really excel at. We'll see if they want to use that for Immortals on attack, as they will be the attackers first here, as the dropship has landed with the Murky on the side. I mean, that dropship must have been there for a while. That's a pretty extensive piece of street art that is graffitied on the side of it.
I mean, really, they do just have the face of terror painted on it to intimidate their enemies. But yeah, I mean, you take a look at the defense that LG Evil is coming out with here. It is going to be a very dive-happy defense, but that is kind of good here for Jake, where Jake is not going to be freelancing this time around. Jake is going to be getting loads of support, not only from Train on the Tracer, but Vol and Super, who will be in there right with them. And that means that their defense here is either going to work out very well in the beginning, or everyone's going to die immediately. There's not that much in between for dive setups.
Well, the offense does look to be running a dive offense as well, so it's very important to see where this first fight takes place. Sometimes the dive offense will rotate into the corner, try and get up top. Most defenses won't allow this rotation to happen, but too late on the rotation is the defense, so they're going to square off on the stairs here.
Well, they will get into this upper room relatively unscathed. Everyone at full health. Now Immortals gets the ability to come in here over the top. Let's see how LG Evil does this. I think LG Evil is waiting for them to drop down. They just want to counter dive, and that's exactly what we're going to see. A super leaps right into the top, but already the fight a little bit segmented as take a look at Rob420 here, out in the middle of nowhere. He's going to fall, but the rest of this going better here for LG Evil, at least in the moment. Agility is definitely working at bringing this back, picks up 2, and now diving right to the back is Super finding himself very outnumbered in that corner.
Well, the problem is both supports are now down for LG Evil as Rob and Voss got caught out in that room. It's not the first time they've been caught out in that room either, not able to rotate quickly enough with the rest of their team. That is Immortals bringing it back, and it has been all agilities for them today.
Agilities with those 2 vital pickoffs early on, and yeah, from what we saw from LG Evil, they had the counter dive, but they left their supports back there. It meant that the people that were up remaining did not get healed. Super, of course, just sitting there, nothing to be done as Immortals now piling on the momentum. They're going to take first very quickly, and they're going to have Dragon Blade to try and crack open second just as fast.
I straight up just disagree with that. What are both your supports going to do getting back there? They died so far away from their team early on, their spawns were much quicker, and they both just went and fed on that point.
Well, here comes Agility's Dragon Blade out. He's trying to put an end to this game right now. Not able to finish up the Ana, gets a Winston in his face instead. Super this time protecting that fragile backline, so Agility's getting nothing done, and LG Evil will be pushing Immortals back off of this.
On a razor's edge too, because Super almost died there as well, and the Winston got very low, but now he is the one dishing out the damage. Will take down both Nomi and Hyped on this late cleanup here. So as bad as that first defense was, it did not snowball into a second attack very quickly, able to take it over. Grimm has switched over to McCree. This is actually a strategy that LG Evil has run more often.
We used to see a lot of Electric Cowboy coming up from LG Evil on their second point attacks. Maybe seeing it here again, and we have Agilities getting off the Genji, which is interesting. We do see Genji crack open point B quite often, but getting early pickoffs can also help, and Agilities, no stranger to that, one of the very best, if not the best Roadhog in the OCS. And here we go, Jake, defensive Nanoblade, out, gonna get taken down. Only picks up 1 in that dive, but LG Evil still trading out pretty efficiently here. It's going to make it difficult for Immortals to actually pull this back.
The reason I think you can run McCree and Roadhog here if they do stick on this composition is very much like a Genji. It's a closeout combination of heroes because you start off getting the early pick, and McCree excels at those odd number situations. McCree's time to kill is just as quick as Genji's on the Dragon Blade if you're hitting headshots or you're getting boosted. So the same theory applies to that composition, but you don't necessarily have to run the Genji.
It is harder to get the opening and have your McCree get in uncontested, though, which is part of the problem. I mean, Grimm, one of the best McCrees in the business, but even he is going to have some trouble getting a good moment here as Nomi blown up immediately. The reverse button being hit here for Immortals as they really can't commit to that after that early kickoff.
Yeah, they're considering something right now as they demeched Vol, but they're going to think better of it and simply wait to get a full force here to push. Only one ultimate up for the defense here. That's only going to be Primal Rage. No one else really even that close. Vol is over on a D.Va now instead. Already preemptively on the delay, but here comes Super with that Primal Rage. Gets slept.
He gets slept in the back, so he's not going to be causing the chaos that he was looking for, but Agility's caught out. Vol just collapsing on him with the D.Va damage, and though Nomi is able to take down Vol, it's very difficult to get fully hyped about an attack here where we've lost so many people so quickly on Nubis. It's just the defense has an overwhelming advantage, and for now it's nothing flashy from LG Evil, just good trades to start out fights and not letting Immortals get that snowball beginning.
Trina's done very well here on the Tracer. As you mentioned, that Pulse Bomb was so great to start off the fight, already finished it, and then the chase down late to make sure that those support deaths are staggered by valuable seconds. And we've seen seconds be absolutely critical to a team's success, both on attack and defense. So anytime you can stagger a death, even at all, it's always a good thing. He's also got another Pulse Bomb.
Well, Agility's gets that early pick off there. That's what he's been looking for ever since the swap, but into the backline. The Pulse Bomb out. Does not connect. Ethan going to get shielded up. So for now, opportunity for Immortals as they dive in, but here comes Jake. Dragon Blade out with Nano Boost, and he's going to take down Grimm right then and there. And despite the good saving on Ethan in the back, it's not enough as Jake cracks the offense wide.
He hit that flashbang, unable to get the pure follow-through on it. You need to hit like double headshots after that on a boosted Genji anyway. Jake will get the chase down there as Ethan and Hyped go down. I do believe, though, that these last couple pushes, Immortals has gone with the intent of banking ultimates. As you see right now, they're going to have 4, perhaps even 5 as Ethan getting there. This is one of their better opportunities to push Anubis last all map so far.
Well, 2 minutes and 43 seconds left. They might get another window like this, but certainly this is one of their last 2 very, very good attempts that they will have here. And they're going to look to make the most of it. Agility's right now looking for the early pickoff to make it even more secure. Not going to get it, and here they go. The rest of it coming into play. Deadeye coming out here looking for happy little skulls, and he gets it! Down goes Jake immediately. It's a nice pickup set up by Nomi's Earthshatter. 3 kills now from Immortals on that point. Very clean here so far. But Train taking down Nomi, now teasing the idea of LG Evil bringing this back. It is 4-1 right now. They should get a tick, and they do. LG Evil's going to have a few attempts to stall this out, but they're losing too many people. They do get agility zone, that's big.
Jake trying to bring this back for his team, gets a couple of kills early on. Flashbang did not killed again, and they are going to bully out the remainder of this Immortals offense. 1 tick on the board, but they burned every ult on the way in. However, Grim did recharge his a decent deal on the way in. I think they're going to try that same strat. Agility's made so much space for them there that they weren't even contested in that side.
The thing is, you can't always count on getting that level of contribution. It was a very nice Earthshare from Nomi to set that up, give Grim the contribution on that Deadeye. You're not always going to get that. And really, it's Jake finding a way through, getting those 2 kills off of the staggering that LG Evil was stuck with, and as a result, they're able to push Immortals out. Now we see Immortals coming in on the left. They have a sound barrier up. I don't know if they're going to use this here. They don't have much else here. If they get an early pickoff, they would. But other than that, here comes self-destruct into the backline. Looking to make some room. Jake piling in. Dragon Blade out, looking for the kill. And they use the sound barrier in reaction. I'm not a fan of that at all, as Jake still finds his target.
It did keep Ethan alive for another couple of swings. Jake has to get out there, but he just leaves the remainder of this team to the rest of his DPS to go get these chase kills. They might even chase Verbo here. They do and will get Verbo. Again, those staggers all too important. Last push attempt incoming for Immortals now.
That was just so tough, X, because they used Sound Bear in a situation where they were already getting engaged on. They didn't really have a great counter-engage angle, and they had nothing to fall through on the Sound Barrier.
No, not at all, but I think they are at 80 to 90% on a couple of these all-important ultimates. Execution going to be the name of the game. You're going to have Grab, Earthshatter, Pulse Bomb, and a boost for the side of Immortals. Another decent window for them.
Jake, meanwhile, trying to build up a Dragon Blade, which could be game-winning here. LG Evil 1 fight away from getting this hold here on second. Immortals looking for a way of breaking through. Earthshatter comes in from Nomi. Does set up Grim for 2 kills in the back, but Super counter-flanking takes down both supports. Super has done an amazing job on the counter play from Winston here, and now Immortals, they don't have the sustain to really stay in here. Agility's still up, but he's going to be running out of health sooner rather than later.
With no healing in here, it's just Agility's trying to buy time. He knows he cannot do this all himself, was hoping a support would come back in if he could just buy the time. That is not the case, and Super's Winston is amazing play there. It's early for a lot of this stuff. We called Jake a unicorn earlier, but also on tank play, there is something to be said about being able to play a top-tier Rhine and a top-tier Winston. There's very few people on the planet who I think are there yet. Super, not there yet, but this team is growing, and it's got to be frightening some people.
Well, for LG Evil, they have certainly given themselves a great opportunity to even up the series. And as we mentioned a little bit in the pregame here, I just think that's a great story for LG Evil, where clearly assault maps were one of their all-time weaknesses. They were not very good at it 5 weeks ago. And yet the format of the OCS, where they have had to play on Anubis every week, has honed them to where they're far more competitive. Even if they will end up losing here, I would still have the same opinion that they have looked far better.
I completely agree, and it was actually an evolution within that, is that their offense looked like it got figured out first, but now it seems that they figured out their defense. They gave that right side up for free a lot of the time. Jake was waiting for the tanks to vacate that area so he could get the space to dive in, and then his initial dive followed up by Super. It has been a beautiful growth process for LG Evil on assault maps, and they are very close to being able to pull this one away. Only 1 point for Immortals. That means all LG Evil has to do is finish out the map. And this isn't Hanamura. Anubis, you can definitely finish out.
We do see more completions on Anubis. We see very few one-to-one draws, at least in the OCS. We see even fewer holds on first, which makes us troubling for Immortals, because Immortals, you think about it, in a just 2 bad options for them. Even if they get the hold on second, then they have to go and face LG Evil on, I don't know what I'm seeing, man. Then they have to face LG Evil on Control, where LG Evil is exceptionally good.
That bit of Overwatch brought to you by Quentin Tarantino. He's got his preferences. LG Evil on the offense here, going to run a dive composition, and they're going to add in a second DPS. This is something that they will pepper in. They've got the capability to do so, as they're going to run both a Tracer and a Genji on this offense, and 2 dive tanks. Already holding high ground here is Grim Reality. I believe Immortals used a Mei earlier to boost this Reinhardt up here. This is a position they like to hold on their defense.
Well, and it's just a little bit of extra support here for Grim, who's very likely going to be finding themselves getting dove on here in just a moment. There's a lot of tools LG Evil has to do that, and Grim actually just going to get off the high ground. But now they're getting attacked from all angles. This position for Immortals can be tough. Both Agility's getting that early pickoff. This will let them push out of it, but Jake, no fear, diving deep into this room and getting punished just the same. Does do a decent amount of building his ult and giving a little bit more room to super and train, though. So trade outs coming in on both sides. Perhaps not the cleanest, but Super picking up kill after kill, getting healed up in the back. The healing on him has been great, and now he gets a nano boost piling on here. My goodness, the teamwork between Super and Rob 420 certainly paying off for LG Evil in this fight.
Anytime you see Super doing as well as he is, it is because Rob is in his back pocket. Rob will eventually give his life up for it, but Super revenges him onto Agilities. The best case scenario now for Immortals is hoping for a draw. Is Super going to switch off of this? He does have Primal Rage, but he was headed back towards spawn. Maybe thinking better of it. Give him 1 life on it. Winston could be good here at last.
It would be more acceptable than what Mangachu did yesterday in getting rid of Primal Rage on defense, which was the throw of throws. But in this case, Super will probably just use the Primal Rage here on this next push, if nothing else. We'll see how he stays on it, but he gets hooked in and doesn't even use Primal Rage right away. Has faith in Rob to keep him up. And now, LG Evil getting in on this point. Agility slept in the back. Nice deflection here by Jake. About to get on the Aethan and gets him. So they're down to Voss early on, but still, Jake piling on, finds Grim. This is a great opportunity for LG Evil to finish this map very quickly.
It's an opportunity to at least get a tick, as the Dragon Blade will come out onto a sleeping Roadhog. That is a terrible alarm clock. They will slash and demech this D.Va. Already 2 ticks, playing so well in this corner, not letting anyone in. They will get a Winston back on here in desperation time, but Aethan goes down to the self-destruct. Nice stall out coming, but so close.
They're on 2 ticks right now, and Immortals already on life support here on Anubis. They need to keep the stall down. The Graviton comes in late. Not going to do a whole lot. They're protected by the Winston bubble. Everyone on LG Evil still alive and in on this point. Fall through pulse block comes in from Train and picks off 2. The cleanup is there, and Immortals struggling. Back against the wall, looking for anything to turn this back around. They have a Mei getting in here on the point, but this is where you really have to look at Grim, as Grim gets cut right down. If there's light at the end of the tunnel, it's not coming in from Grim, at least not for a little bit longer, as Jake pulls out the blade, slicing through. They just need a little bit more, and they are going to defeat Immortals here on Anubis.
Super still alive, has a second Primal Rage here. It's a great closeout ultimate, going to knock Mei away from this point. She's unable to get back. Super did not die that entire round. What a play.
Hex, even Primal Evils can be knocked back by Primal Rage. That's the takeaway for me there. Oh, man. So LG Evil completing the redemption story, in a sense, of taking this win off Immortals on Assault in the Grand Finals. Well played to them, and just learning this game type over the course of the OCS. And Super.
Who else would it be?
This has to be on point A, where he's just electrocuting everyone. No, it's at the very end.
Well, he still doesn't die this entire time. His use of shields has been great. Of course, Winston has gotten a little bit of buff in that regard. And it is something about this team, and maybe it comes out of the Reinhardt situation, where the trust that he has in Rob is just at an all-time high level. To get hooked in there and not even use Primal Rage because you know Anna's got her pocket on you, you're doing just, the relationship is beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many Winstons in the game there. They get hooked in a situation. Suddenly you're Winston, you're looking on all sides and you see enemies here, Roadhog breathing in my face. Better go Primal Rage. And no, he just holds on to it, trusts that Rob has his back, and is able to use it at a more impactful time as the fight develops. So it's great.
Yeah, and not to mention the play throughout the entire game. I mean, he was getting multi-kills there on Winston, and it's a testament to why we were watching him in the first place. And one of the things we mentioned is that difference between him and Nomi. And Nomi is not as known to play Winston, and this is a tool that LG Evil definitely utilized to great avail in this one. It also was really good against IMT's Immortals in defense on first. They love to hang out in that side room and give Grim Reality protection in there. And the cleave damage, as it turns out, was doing some work.
Now, for me, looking forward here, of course, the next map we're going to be rolling into is Control. And I feel like this is make or break for Immortals on one hand because they are not favored going into this. LG Evil clearly at the edge. And yet, on the same note, if LG Evil converts on that edge and takes this next map, which is going to be Nepal, I do wonder about Immortals trying to bring back on 2 maps in a row. Easier said than done. So I kind of feel like if Immortals want to win the series and take the championship, they have to find a way of surprising LG Evil here.
Well, Nepal has been a good map for Immortals, and they've been actually running Orisa on this map of all things. I don't know if they have the confidence to do it against LG Evil, but it would have stunned me had we gone into a map that wasn't Nepal here. It has been the home pick of Immortals when they have to play Control. Definitely not an Oasis-favored team. So they have practiced it, obviously, because you don't run Orisa on this map if you haven't put in the time on it. And Hyped has been running it on, well, specifically in Village.
I think for the Orisa note here, it's actually going to be interesting because now you have the entire dynamic of were you just running this for fun and stakes that were a little bit lower where you knew you had an edge to begin with? Or do you have enough faith in your Orisa that here, where their stakes could not be higher, you're actually going to pull it out against one of the best control point teams in North America? We'll have to see. I do think that it's a possibility, but at the very least, we'll get a better idea where Immortals thinks that Orisa stands in these situations, particularly when Village comes up as a map.
Well, and my big question is, when they have played it, it has not been focused very much by their opponents, and so it was fairly successful. But the question is, what happens when it is focused? Orisa, not of the most mobile of heroes, and so my big worry coming in if I'm Immortals is, hey, we've got actually some footage on this. And if we are not playing up against exactly what we saw earlier, it definitely could backfire greatly. And with a lot on the line here and a lot of play being on the margins coming into this one, I wouldn't be surprised if they bench it just for now. Part of me, though, I just really want to see it there on that Village one more time.
Well, part of it was on the margins. Hollywood was a very close map. Could have been decided by 1 or 2 deaths towards the end, but that was LGE dominating on Anubis there to defend the way they did and not let Immortals take a second point and then just ride the entire momentum that they had. That was a very impressive show. So this is what worries me when teams let LG Evil win a game or something like that. You can sneak up on them early, but once this team starts to get going, their momentum game has been so strong.
Well, I also just think the order of maps here, in that sense, does help them out here, where they get in the Control, which has been their strongest game type, and they get into it after they've had 2 maps to warm up. And also, of course, now it's 1-1. You can't have much more pressure on Immortals. So it is going to be interesting to see how this pans out and see if Immortals has any bags up their sleeves, any tricks up their sleeves, anything in their bag of tricks. I mean, hey, if they have bags up their sleeves, that'd be interesting too. I don't
they have
think
bags
they normally
up their sleeves, and those bags are full of
bags
tricks.
of tricks up their sleeves.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, you know what? Whatever those tricks are, I'm sure it's going to result in some amazing footage and some amazing plays. And so just a reminder, since we had a little bit of a break there and everyone's kind of fallen asleep, I can tell on the other side there, make sure you are tweeting at Game Carbon with the hashtag OCS Plays for your shot at getting some goodies, some gear from Blizzard, and a little bit of time on stream after this matchup. It's 1-1, tied up in this, the final. And yeah, LG Evil, they're looking to take it to 2-1, and Immortals, well, I guess they want the same.
De facto best of 3 now for the Overwatch Carbon Series Championship. LG Evil versus Immortals. We are going to move in onto Nepal, and we are going to start out on the Shrine phase, so no news on Orisa just yet.
Shrine phase, I'm not entirely sold on how Immortals is going to be opening this up.
Nope.
Hyped on the Pharah is risky. Maybe he spent some time in the hyperbolic time chamber before coming out here. I don't know, but I do know that Jake versus Hyped oftentimes should be something that will go more the way of Jake. Well, we'll have to see as Hyped in over the top, looking for fair pickoffs, trying to make the most of a hero that we don't see him on that often. And for now, relatively quiet beginning as both teams being relatively tentative and not diving into each other right away.
Well, the rotations will come out. Jake is able to take down 8th and half of the power of this combination as they also dove up top with Train on the D.Va. Train is so good at this D.Va. It's where he made his name as a player when There was questions about this LG Evil team if they could run anything except for 4 tanks, but you know what? All that practice on D.Va pays off as he 1v1s Hyped.
Well, full mech suit beats rocket suit, as it turns out. Does go quite a bit of ways to take down Hyped, and this fight still being contested to some extent. And I'll note that Immortals, that despite Hyped getting neutralized, they were able to get first control of the point. LG Evil was tentative in getting on it, so even if LG Evil wins this fight, they're still going to be down quite a bit of progress. As Agility's Dragon Blade to the back picks up 2. This is still okay for Immortals.
Absolutely, because they were able to sneak in that capture early on, already 30% from that, which is essentially they lost the fight, but not the objective focus needed from LG Evil. The Earthshatter will come down on this point as Agility is still being very annoying. This is one of the oddest openings to Nepal I've seen, generally a more 6v6 focused map.
Here comes Jake. Nano Visor will be on deck, looking to go right to the back, looking for anyone that's not hiding behind a building. Only Verbo is the taker there, as Hyped very far up into the sky here once more. Just getting gunned down by Jake. Lucky doesn't fall in that moment, but while he's looking at Jake, he's not looking at Grim Reality. Grim Reality comes around the side, finishes the kill, and Immortals might be retaking this here, where Hyped, if nothing else, has been a solid distraction.
They should be retaking it. Ethan was so close to dying up top there in the sky, but unable to get those last couple of kills. This is now going to be the Immortals taking the point back. 43% yielded to LG Evil after their first fight win, so very back and forth, and that's about as brawly as an opening you'll see.
It's very back and forth, but Immortals now in a great position to utilize their ultimate economy, win the next fight cleanly, and be 1 fight away. We'll see how they deal with it, but so long as Ethan stays alive and they can utilize that resurrection, it does bode pretty well for Immortals as Hyped. Now coming in over the back, and they take Jake out of the fight immediately. A nice pulse bomb by Grim Reality, and Hyped can have a quiet game up here. Doesn't seem to matter as much.
Well, it's fine now that, especially that Jake is out, there's absolutely no pressure on him. Yes, the D.Va can do something about it, but those skies are clear, ready to engage for this combination. Grim takes down Rob towards the end, and we're getting down to just about the last fight, and they didn't even have to use anything.
That's the power of landing that pulse bomb there, is that they take an entire fight for free. They can save their power, and suddenly LG Evil very much in the hot seat here. This could be the final fight of the game, and they're gonna have to go through a whole lot of power on the side of Immortals. So LG Evil now rolling in. Soundbear out here from Immortals. Agility's diving deep with the Dragon Blade. They get 2 kills immediately. Jake out of the fight, and this is decisive.
This is surprising to me, to say the least. Super and Train are going to combine for a couple. Here comes the resurrection, though, so those kills are for naught. No one eliminated here. They have no one on the point. That was weird from LG Evil, but Hyped not getting all the damage done. But sometimes, as Nicholas of Complexity has shown us, you don't have to get damage done on Pharah as long as you're keeping eyes on you.
There are definitely situations in Overwatch where a team's reaction to a hero being played actually hurts them more than the actual hero. We see that most commonly with heroes like Widowmaker, where you have crazy overdives to get her out of the fight, and then suddenly you have ruined your defensive chances there. And it did cause a lot of pressure coming in there, where Vol was chasing him down into the air, and instead of Vol being a very good D.Va in the fight, in the bulk of things, you're out there chasing Hyped. And in the end, that actually worked out pretty well for Immortals.
Hyped not the most impactful of plays on his Pharah. They will continue to run a Pharah. This is their village setup. Hyped buying into the hype. Is going to be playing Orisa.
So this is for real from Immortals. They are running the Orisa. We'll see just how it works out here against LG Evil, which will be the sternest test that Hype's Orisa has gotten here so far. Gonna toss out that halt Graviton charge, but Hyped, with his team going down pretty early, has to back out.
Getting bullied out by Jake, who wasn't necessarily going for the kill. He was just going for control over there, able to completely negate Orisa. They're going to try to rotate in. Here they will take some entry damage as Jake going to come around, find Orisa on the ground. Does end up taking down Verbo.
Orisa was more of a side effect, but Hyped fighting right back, takes down Jake. Somewhat back and forth here between both teams. Agility's now going to try and break it wide open. Not really dealing with a number advantage. In fact, dealing with a number disadvantage as Train just mows through the remaining members of Immortals on the ground, leaving very little time for Agilities to really land anything as Pharah.
Train, we talk about Jake so much with the depth of hero pool that he has, but Train very similar, can run a lot of different off tanks. His main DPS that he will rotate on is this Tracer, and he's had himself a good game both on Anubis and so far on Nepal's second stage.
This is interesting. Hype is staying on the Orisa even for the retake. I thought he might have changed up after, and Verbo just eating it immediately in this fight. Pulse Bomb taking him out of the fight, and now Jake wants a little bit of Pharah and Pharah action into the back line. While that's going on, very spread out here from all sides here. There's people in the air, people on the left, people on the right. Hype now finding his way into the point, just looking to lay down consistent damage here as Orisa.
Gonna fortify and force out the primal rage there. Jake takes out Nomi on the other side of things, and a barrage has taken down 2. That should be Immortals' fight to lose now. Resurrection is up. I don't know if he's gonna get here in time though.
Round 420 a little bit out of the fight, did go down pretty early, and even if you were to come in and res now, the people have already gone back to spawn, but it's a very good delay coming out here from LG Evil, notwithstanding, where now it takes all this time for Immortals to finally capture the point when they had basically won the fight about 15 seconds prior.
60% now on the board for LG Evil on Nepal, already down 1 stage. We're gonna see Hype's ultimate perhaps come into play here, but it's been difficult to get a lot of value out of it. Hanging out on this upper ledge, this is a point where we're seeing teams throw a lot of bodies at Hype, but unable to dislodge him.
Well, there is the Orisa Supercharger. It's dropped right down, and that makes Grim very scary. Picking up 2 kills immediately. Also, of course, power boosting agilities, and hey, for a good use of Supercharger there, does work out. Lets Grim and agilities finish their plate, and it is a very clean all kill there from the side of Immortals. No casualties sustained.
Something I'm noticing with Orisa is she seems to be all about corner control. That's where Hype sets up most of the times, around these corners, able to use the shield to extend corners and keep your teams alive. And you saw him specifically trying to set up for the Supercharger there on the corner, on the ledge. Jake did a lot of damage to the Zenyatta over here, and there's the cleanup.
Super able to get on Zen immediately. Train right there, blowing up Nomi, and the quick strike from LG Evil might be turning this right back around. Now Train free to dash around, look for early pickoffs, and unfortunately here for Agilities, not a whole lot left to run into. And I feel like that's the second time that's happened where Agilities just looks at it and goes, well,
that's it.
I guess I'm throwing myself onto the point now. This is happening.
This is my life now. Probably going to concussion blast his way out, but I think he was going in for a little extra damage there late. Will stay on the Pharah, so it was not a switch death for sure. Jake is doing a lot of damage boosted rockets over here. Him and Agilities are going to take a dogfight in the sky.
Well, we do have a swap up here. Hyped, I think, realizes not going to get great position. Risk again is now on the Zarya. Soundbarrier coming out here from Immortals as they try and make the most of this, but they do get 1 kill. Avast is out of the fight. Soundbarrier traded, and down goes Rob 420. Not going to be able to regroup here as Pharah versus Pharah on the edge, and Agilities taking it. Jake out of the fight, and Immortals about to retake it, potentially.
As good as Rob has been on Ana, it has been a rough game for him on Mercy. Now, of course, that's never all of Mercy's fault when you're part of a combination. Are your outs there? Is your Mercy, or is your Pharah playing to let you escape situations? But he has died as many times. He does have Resurrection, though, so I think he's going to stay on this for now. They have a pretty good ult advantage, does LG Evil, coming into this final fight. They can throw numerous amounts of abilities at this.
The key here is that Rob 420 must stay alive. I think that if he stays alive and gets a res off with all the other ultimates on deck for LG Evil, they have a very good chance of just taking this very cleanly. But this fight is underway. Agilities falls immediately. Train finding him right away. Grim gonna try and bring this back to attack Pfizer. They do get onto the Mercy though. No Resurrection is gonna be on deck. But LG Evil still with plenty of people up and around. Super in and around the point. Still has Primal Rage. And though they get the Mercy, they're not able to win the fight. And now Grim's stuck with trying to just run back in, and no, they don't even delay it out.
Grim did everything he could there. 3 kills, took out the combo, but Train has been great on the Tracer. He punished Grim there late, got a couple of kills. Grim unable to get back in against all the tank-heavy forces. Agility's unable to get back onto the point. 1-1 now on Nepal as we enter into the Sanctum stage.
Sanctum stage is interesting. This is one case where if we thought we'd be seeing Orisa, we'd see her a little bit more here on the stage. Lots of ability to throw people into the pit, and yet when Immortals runs Orisa, they only like running it on Village, and take a look at it right now. It does appear like both teams are going to be playing this relatively standard, both very tanky compositions, where LG Evil, of course, they like running tank comps more than others, and Immortals has trended to it as well, so a little bit of a blast for the past year compared to some of the more divier compositions we've seen as of late.
Should see a shield battle on the stairs. That's generally how Sanctum opens up here, and it's just a Roadhog can be so good on this stage. But Train gonna rotate around on the 76, does take a pot shot at Grim, who is sitting on the point there, but now has taken himself out of the fight for a great deal of time. That's gonna hurt the shield battle. A charge in will not get much right there. Hooks back and forth, but that is Agility is finding the depths. Jake joins him, but now down a support. LG Evil loses Rob.
Immortals in a great position here. They've gotten rid of Jake, they've gotten rid of Rob 420. Super trying to bring it back by getting unhyped. And actually, LG Evil bring back a fight that normally isn't brought back when you've lost that many people. Unfortunately for them, they don't have control of the point here. Immortals is able to grab that relatively early. And overall, it is looking like LG Evil's gonna have to wait for it.
Objective control, very important in objective-based maps like this, and now all the free take because they were unable to fight on the point earlier already coming in. Verbo's going to do some great stall out on his roller skating Lucio, looking for a boop, does find Super, not able to get him off the edge.
What you're seeing for Immortals, they're just controlling the sides here, taking down LG Evil as they try and get back in, one by one. Agilities with a great pickoff, Grim Reality following it through right after. It's been solid here for Immortals to open up Sanctum, and I gotta say, Hex, this might be the last time we see Sanctum here in the OCS, and no one has found Mondada's gold yet.
Not yet. Both Roadhogs went a-looking, but that mask may be a little foggy trying to see the glimmer of gold down there, although I just think it's a lie. But ZP, I guess you repeat a lie often enough, people start believing it.
It's the truth, Hex, it's the truth, but what is also the truth is Agility's running through the Nano Hog, just pummeling Train against the wall towards the very end. Immortals taking their defense a little bit more aggressively here, not letting LG Evil even get through this archway particularly easily.
I think it's always smarter to hold at the archway if you think you can do it. If you're running tank-heavy compositions, it becomes much easier to do so. Don't give up anything for free. Vol's going to rotate in, does hit a Graviton.
Graviton comes in and Vol right there for his own cleanup with Super, of course, who was nano boosted in. 3 quick kills in from the side of LG Evil, so that's a turnabout they needed, but they also have 0% here, so it's great that they won that fight. Now they're going to have to hold for basically the rest of Sanctum.
Just going to be some stall time here on the point. 82% on the clock for Immortals. I guess percent isn't a time variable, but here comes Jake trying in to get the whole hog. Will find Agilities, who was anti-healed there. A questionable Earth Shatter from Nomi. He was so low when he used it, he was going to die for sure.
Nomi had an Earth Shatter like that back on Hollywood as well. I think that Nomi just has a trend of throwing away Earth Shatters where maybe there's a 1% chance of being a hero, but even then I'd say that was even less. Now, take a look at Hyped. Throws out the shield, and now he's going to be sneaky. He wants to set this up with a flanking grav,
wow.
But people are not quite where he thought they might have been. He's just going to lob that in. Pulls into... Both Ryan's going to charge into each other there. That's a nice counter charge from Super.
It is.
To stop Nomi from getting into the backline. And Nano Boost be Nano Boost. Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Reinhardt's, as it were. Going to work out in the favor of LG Evil.
Absolutely. Hyped is one of the few Zaryas who will go from downtown more often than others. Able to hit that grab, not quite the follow-up, but as you mentioned, it was Super. Super absolutely getting that nice charge to make sure that Nomi could not get in there. And now the hold continues as they near 60%. Vol this time going to have a Graviton of his own up. Does see them rotating around. I think they cannot go drop into this room. Some teams have made that mistake before. They're going for it.
Well, they're
now rotating around.
They're rotating around, but they also need to make sure that Grim does not use Attack Visor for no reason here. If he uses Attack Visor against nothing, that could be it. They're going all in. Sound Barrier, Attack Visor up. Grim gonna pick off Super immediately. Still has a little bit more time, looking for more. Agility's falling through, so Attack Visor does not appear to be wasted here. Immortals, 3 unanswered kills off that rotate around entry, and it works out.
Train dancing too much. Another grab from Vol that got absolutely nothing there. It was odd. They grabbed 4, then switched targets immediately. Last push incoming.
And this is going to be a very strained push where they really just have to get the point. It's 93%. They can't sit here and poke, and Agility's going to drop the whole hog, just looking to knock things back, looking for the quick kill on the Ana. Oh no, she's pinned here in the back. Goodbye, Rob 420. 3 kills in from Immortals as, unfortunately for LG Evil, the time was such that they couldn't set up for a good fight.
No, and it's been very nice to see teams be aware of the clock, aware of the percentage that they have, and just throw ults out that front door. If they can't get through the front door, they're not going to get on the point and stall it out. So Immortals will take a 2-1 stage lead here on Nepal.
This very well could be the story of the series, which would be Immortals finding a way to defeat LG Evil on their bread and butter, which is control. Because just think about what it changes here. It gives LG Evil the pressure where they have to win 2 in a row. It means that Immortals has a bit of a buffer. If Immortals lets this get away from them, I very well think that it would probably cost them the series. So make or break time for Immortals. A great opportunity has presented itself.
Immortals traditionally, in the early part of the Overwatch Carbon Series, struggled on control, and LG Evil hadn't lost a control map for a very long time. I think at one point there were 7-0 on control maps. So absolutely, that story is correct. Now the switch-ups will come as Jake does believe that he's going to be seeing Hyped in the skies. He is correct. The dogfight will commence. Just chasing him around now. No one hitting any rockets.
We got Sky Wars going on. We got Ground Wars going on. I mean, it's a war, even if people are missing all their shots.
Shots have been fired, at least.
Yeah, but that's on the cast, not in the game. Still, though, Jake and Hyped trying to take each other there, but while that's going on, Grim doing a great job on the ground here for Immortals. Taking down 2, rotating in and around, and now Jake trying to compensate a bit for the ground war, but this has been all over the place, and another very strange shrine opening.
Well, Hyped will take down Rob, but then Jake will take down Hyped in turn, but regardless of that, it is Immortals who will grab first point here yet again. The point control just hasn't been there for LG Evil. Here comes a Blade out of Agility. He's trying to go to the sky.
Well, Agility's looking for anything. Not going to find it, just finding the Fusion Blasters of D.Va instead. As Vol picks up 2, and Vol, a little bit of trade in him there with how much he just brought that back on D.Va.
Very nice, because all that was happening there was Agility's, or rather Grim Reality was trying to get in to stall out, and they killed that Tracer before she could rewind, before she could get blinks going too. So very critical kill there to flip this point back over, and now they're tied percentage-wise.
See Jake moving in. Again, just looking for anything here. Is Graham gonna blow up the Winston early on as trade-outs happening all across the board. Both Winstons have it, but Immortals coming a little bit far ahead as Agilities works his magic into the back.
Oh, the combo is dead for LG Evil, so just a ground war now, and they're going to be taking a lot of free damage over top from Hyped as he's getting damage boosted as well. Some nice stall out still on this point for LG Evil, though, and I think you can send Super in here to Primal Rage.
It's been Vol. Vol's been great at buying so much time here, where even though Immortals is probably going to retake this, look at all the progress that LG Evil has had in their brief moment of having full control.
Well, Rob goes down again. It has not been a banner day for his Mercy. Jake's still distracting, and all this time has not been turned back over to Immortals.
No, Immortals not able to retake. So for LG Evil, as weird as the fair exchanges have been able to hold strong. Jake comes back in, Barrage removing Nomi from the equation, and now Train gets to work his magic a little bit here on the Tracer, darting back and forth, finds the Mercy pickoff, and you take a look at Rob for 20. You can even res here if it's necessary for LG Evil.
He will have a res of his own, only 1 kill, though. He will bring Vol back to life, and not a bad choice considering all the contribution Vol has gotten in here. Brings his team back to full health. They will Sound Barrier to make sure they win this fight, and now they are setting the stage for one last fight to be able to bring it back. That was an ambitious Pulse Bomb.
This has been very interesting overall, because you can make an argument in many ways that Immortals has played better overall in terms of just getting kills and big moments, but they haven't played better in actually dealing with the point. There we go, Immortals coming back in. Not a whole lot of time here. We're in overtime. They cannot leave the point for any reason. Hyped, looking for anything in the back, and does use the barrage at the very end. Gonna find 2. Both supports out of the fight now for LG Evil, so it took a while, but Paved Dirt has been hit, and Immortals should be able to flip this back.
Well, maybe. There are a couple kills. Athan goes down, and Grim is going down to his counterpart in Train. They're pushing them off. Getting resets, though, is Agilities. The team on his back has to get on the point. Does not get on the point. Agilities. Unable to flip over that ledge. That can't happen.
You take down both supports. You still have people in and around, and I get that you get hit a little bit by the other Tracer. That was just a weird game across the levels. I think part of it, too, is that it's some of the weirdest fair interactions we are seeing.
Yeah.
We weren't really seeing either fair do much to each other. They were having a dance. It was flashy.
A flash dance?
I don't even know. That was just... that was a strange shrine game, but the bottom line that you take from that is that LG Evil is able to pull that one back away. Now it's going to be decided here on Sanctum, where Immortals, like I said, they really don't want this to slip away from them. It very well could mean the series, and they get one more attempt to put LG Evil away.
I prefer this composition for LG Evil. Jake on the Genji instead of being on the Roadhog. He did not have a great Roadhog game, and I think overall it's just a better hero for him. Of course, Train will be on the D.Va too, so running a lot of tanks here. But Jake on the DPS, it's going to be Jake versus Grim if they can do it. Agility's already de-suiting Train, and no one looking at Grim Reality. We know how that works out most of the time.
Well, Grim with plenty of room to fire in from the flank, and with Immortals winning the outright shield war in the stairs, we're just going to be able to push that right on through and likely secure first point here.
Jake will go diving into the void, the unfeeling void of Sanctum, and that is a first one fight for Immortals here, largely because Grim was able to get so much poke damage on that side that all those tanks were weakened up on the stairs, and then the stair battle just absolutely went the way of Immortals.
Now you take a look at Grim. Grim very content to go here into the back, deal his damage from afar as LG Evil pushing right in. They're going to take Stair Battle 2.0 here, moving right in, and oh my goodness, Grim almost getting that kill. The deflect just saving Jake at the last moment. Still though, Immortals now counter pushing back in. They won the poke war, and now it's going to be rather decisive as they pull right back. Jake instead decides to look for some gold.
Is anyone gonna deal with Grim?
No.
Do not make me get this tattoo. He's been all alone, have to deal with Grim. He's not even on the high ground. You can go get him at some point in time. I guess maybe that's what Jake's waiting for. Jake, of course, has had good Dragon Blades a lot of the time, but already at 50% for Immortals, and it's largely because Grim's been ignored.
Grim has been ignored. I think what's been going on with LGO, they just want to win this top fight here decisively. And again, they're going for it. Third time's a charm, perhaps. No, Jake just immediately bodied by agilities. In that case, not going to be a successful Dragon Blade. In fact, it's taken out. He loses the charge. 2 unanswered kills here by Immortals as they just roll right back in. And now for LG Evil, they are 1 to 2 fights away from losing their favored game type.
This scoreboard has been filthy. It has been 100% Immortals. I think they've gotten 2 kills, LG Evil has, and they've been late in fights, non-impactful kills. Now they got to push against tank ultimates, which is very difficult to do on this stage in particular.
Final attempt here for LG Evil. They're going to open up with a Graviton. They pull in 2 towards the very end, but the sound barrier keeping both Zarya and Roadhog nice and alive there. Hyped, goes down, not able to use a Graviton of his own. And LG Evil piercing through at the final moment here where, yes, Grim is still in and around, finds Jake, but mostly going in favor of LG Evil. But Agility's now starting to bring this back. Even though it's been capped by LG Evil, they're not able to fully solidify here the way that they might have liked.
No, they're not in a great position, and this could turn into a skirmish at any second. So that's why you see Immortals rolling right back in here, knowing that they got some late trades there, and they're going to put some pressure on the point, making reactions come from LG Evil.
Graviton comes in here from Immortals looking to just seal this, but Trade, the self-destruct over the top, finds agilities early on here. And LG Evil, like a beast from the abyss, coming back into this game. 30% to 99. Still so much time for Immortals, but this would be heartbreaking for Immortals if they let this game slip through their fingers.
It just goes to how deep this team is for LG Evil, because Jake has been non-existent this game. He's been getting shut down at every turn, yet they're still in it just by the slimmest of margins.
Well, speaking of Jake, he's going to have a chance for redemption here. Nano Blade, almost certainly going to be in the menu. Vol is down, so it really must be Jake. Finds Verbo, dashing to the side, looking for Grim, who's tearing through his team with the Nano Visor and tears through Jake for good measure. Immortals retaking the point, overtime fading away, and Immortals has taken a 2-1 lead over LG Evil on Control. This is so big for Immortals.
A map type they absolutely needed to win. Now they have the momentum going into it. Athan, another Ana play of the game.
Not play of the game when we've had plenty of big DPS play, so let's just sit, observe, and enjoy.
Healing, damage, doing everything. A little bit of everything. That's fine. Jake got shut down there. He got shut down on Genji really hard on all through Sanctum.
It's always a bad time when you say your catchphrase for pulling out your Dragon Blade, you feel really good about where things are going, and then you just get crunched by a face full of scrap. Not great.
No, not great, and credit to Agilities for that. But if Jake was getting dealt with rather handily, someone who wasn't getting dealt with, as you pointed out, is Grim Reality, and you got to deal with that.
I don't have any more to say about it. Every time that a team gets crushed by Immortals, it's because they decide, well, someone else is a problem, which is why agility has been so important. It's because everyone else is presenting a threat. But you can't leave Grim alone. I've said you can't leave Grim alone on the high ground. Can't leave him alone on the point either. He was doing so much damage unseen, and I'm just really surprised at the target prioritization for Jake. He wasn't diving him early when he didn't have tactical visor. Then he's boosted and has visor, and then Jake decides that he's going to abandon the point and go try to deal with it towards the end. It was baffling.
One thing I will say, though, is I don't think either team should feel really great about their Pharah v Pharah game, because that
That was not good, what we saw there, where both Pharahs were almost signing a non-aggression pact where they were just shooting at each other for a long period of time, but nothing was happening.
The slap fight up there in the air. You know?
Mangachu likely weeping at home.
Well, that's the thing is maybe we've been spoiled because, you know, that is something you see more often than we've, you know, seen plays like Mangachu, you know, and so...
It can't happen.
That's when the ground war becomes more important.
It can't happen. Projectiles in the air. Sometimes one of the Pharahs just a little bit off, and you give a couple more lives to see if you can find it again. It's one of the more difficult shots in all of Overwatch to hit. But usually one of them is hitting something.
Well, I mean, usually there's an end to it. It just felt like there were 1 to 2 minute periods where both Pharahs were trying desperately to end one another and the pocketing mercy, and just nothing was happening. And in the end, they both teams end up rubber matching there on Shrine. So I guess it just evens out, but I don't know. That was neither team looked great there.
I'm just glad that was actually a huge upgrade in Hyped's play on Pharah. We saw him earlier in the season on Pharah, and it was even worse if you can imagine. Maybe
shots fired.
Shots fired, indeed.
Listen, I'm sorry, Hyped. Okay,
that was just subtle.
I think we all know.
You didn't even feel the knife until you twisted it.
Maybe it wasn't even that it wasn't great, but you have to have more to it than that. Wow, yeah. Listen, that's as much hate as I've given anyone. I think on the
you weren't
desk
even
this
intending
entire
it to.
event.
Like,
yeah,
that's pretty good. No, but you're right. It was better a little bit, but I think a lot of that was because Jake wasn't hitting anything either, so it looks better by comparison. Right.
You know,
well, I think the smart thing that Hype did quicker than Jake is Jake was chasing the air combo the entire time. He was just chasing for it. And Hype at a certain point understood his limitations and said, you know what, I'm going to just throw in some damage user rockets on the point. I'm going to help out this ground war. Then I'll go back to it. And in the meantime, Jake probably won't hit me anyway because he has it. So the faster one to rotate into the ground war and help out a little bit was Hyped in there. So I think he made the better choice.
Yeah. It does show something interesting about Pharah play, though, where there's two different skill sets on Pharah. There is Pharah versus ground, and then Pharah versus Pharah, because Jake has had very good moments on Pharah versus the ground.
Yeah.
He's had very good moments in those situations, but clearly the Pharah v Pharah was just, it wasn't great.
Yeah, it could have been better, we'll just say. Well, Pharah battles aside, that may have been the best showing we've seen on Nepal. That was just back and forth, and both teams were really throwing themselves at that one because they knew the importance coming into this fourth map. And the team that was able to find victory coming into the fourth map was Immortals. So Dorado has been picked this time by LG Evil. And this is another one we've seen quite a bit. We saw Gibraltar quite a bit for a while. I was kind of hoping to see Immortals on that one. I have to imagine the reason we're not seeing that is because they had some good answers for defense there. But what else are our thoughts coming into Dorado?
It's part of the changing evolution of Immortals because we used to think this was their home map, and they struggled a little bit on it. And as you said, they would almost rather go to Gibraltar instead of this, but this is going to be LG Evil's map pick. So I think a lot of this, based on what we've seen from teams lately, these aren't teams that necessarily prefer to run dive over anything else. They actually prefer to run maybe 3 tanks, 2-2-2 sometimes. So I don't think we'll see dive necessarily from either team. We saw some Widow early on, but I think it's going to be standard play from either side.
Most likely standard. I will say that if Immortals can somehow channel their pre-OCS acumen on Dorado,
right,
they very well could end this grand finals here on this map. And it's a testament to how they've favored Gibraltar over time to where now we are in week 5 and how much changes in 5 weeks where suddenly you go, between Gibraltar and Dorado, we're actually going to bring Immortals to Dorado. That was not going to be the case a month ago.
Immortals has really rounded out their game, in my opinion, in the last 3 weeks. It used to be a very standard vanilla style. We're going to play this, and we're going to be good at certain maps here and there. Now they're really getting better at just DPS and different comps and different maps and different styles. They've become more of a wild card than they've ever been. They're not as easy to prepare for as they used to be.
And you could even see that in a couple of the early games. Like, go watch their first game against Complexity because they tried a bunch of things. They tried to bring multiple DPS and this and that. I think that if that wasn't the match where we saw Hyped on Pharah, then it was one shortly after that. And it just wasn't working out. And so their early victories were off of, the same play that we saw in prior events. But this play right now that we're seeing is definitely something new from Immortals. And it is telling me that they are contenders moving forward in this scene and looking towards the Overwatch League for a spot because they have adapted. And they're going to be looking to close things out right here on Dorado as LG Evil. They want to go to a map number 5. Is they're going to be on attack first.
Well, this defense coming out from Immortals has me happy for at least the moment, but we will be paused momentarily as I believe Grim has taken a break from reality, haha, and he's going to be AFK for just a moment. I've never said I was funny. No one's ever said I was funny.
Hey, that was great. Okay, that was amazing.
But yeah, we're going to pause real quick. But the one thing I wanted to note that we did see on screen is that Verbo was queued up on a Symmetra. We haven't seen Symmetra very often here, but I don't know. It's possible. We still have a lot of time.
I mean, it would be a grand return, and talk about a way of winning in style if they were able to run Symmetra in the beginning and then actually get a full hold on Dorado to finish things out relatively quickly. It'd be a story because Symmetra has actually fallen off quite a bit in the OCS, where she was played quite a bit back in week 1 and 2, and over time, much like Torbjorn, sort of falling to the wayside. Teams have been less and less impressed with her, and therefore we've seen her far less.
So we will see it. What makes me think we might see it is just based on the other composition around it, because you can run Symmetra in this comp if you're going to run like with tanks with her, and they're not set up right now, at least in a very aggressive defense, which is the other option for Immortals to play the Genji on the rooftop, Tracer up there with 76, and try to get kills early on. So we'll see what they actually end up picking. So I do believe we're going to go back into game here.
Well, the pause is over. Grim is back with us. I'm not going to say he's back to reality because I'm simply too classy for that.
Yeah, you think you're better than me? All right. Well, Hyped is actually now switching over to the Tracer, so this could be an aggressive defense. Again, this is just something that Immortals has only rotated into their game in the last several weeks. It's been very popular from high-level North American teams to just fight as often as possible. There's a lot of math behind it. There's a lot of good reasons why you want to play an aggressive defense, and Grim and Hyped on the double hit scan. Agility's also going to be looking for picks, but the quad tank is a pretty good answer to it, or a triple tank rather.
There's also a lot of disappointment because there is no Symmetra.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
The tales of Symmetra were a lie, but LG Evil now looking to get their way through this relatively divey defense of Immortals, and neither side really suffering too much here, although as I say that, the Fire Strike just takes down Jake immediately. 2 kills here from Immortals, and now Grim gets his own personal shooting gallery. No one can get on him in the situation, but he can land tons of damage in over the top.
Dying to a Fire Strike as a Genji is not ideal, but Agilities had just run towards him, didn't even fire a shot, and baited out the deflect from Jake. So once that Fire Strike was coming at him, he had no recourse other than to eat it, die, and reset. Immortals' aggressive defense looking good here. And there's the dive coming in up top from Jake, as he's all alone in the middle of 4, has to be careful.
Right now, still in and around Tracer, looking to be a distraction in from the back. Grim still the muscle in the front as Agilities drops right down, picks down 2 right away with that Roadhog initiation. So Immortals not giving LG Evil a whole lot of free ground here, and it is working out beautifully so far.
Agility's the only one to go down there from Super, but that is it. Now we enter the ultimate phase of the game, and this is LG Evil looking for answers. They rotate Train onto the Mei for a second. I think that was a misclick. He's going to go to the Diva instead, but it has been all Immortals so far.
The one good part about the Diva swap here is that he could ruin Grim Reality's day. They have to realize that attack visor is up right now. I would expect Train to be in Grim's face to try and deal with that sooner rather than later. But for LG Evil, they don't actually have that much time. It's 2 minutes left. If they get stopped here, it starts getting very dicey for them on getting through Courtyard.
Well, it's going to be a matter of if they can get the Nano Blade in, or if they're just going to try to stockpile these kills. The Blade will come in.
Blade coming in from the back. Jake going to get shut down by the tactical visor. Grim right there, ready to deal with it. And Train was in his face, but it's not enough. He's still able to land shots, moving to the side. And Immortals still in on this defense. They lose Agilities later on, though, so this might be the beginning of a bit of a snowball for LG Evil as reinforcements come in, and the payload is getting its way to the fountain. Verbo falls from long range. Vol landing some very good shots.
It was so close as Grim had everyone solo, unable to finish it. Giant Earth Shatter comes in.
What an Earth Shatter coming in from Nomi, putting the team right back in it. Grim has rejoined the fight. It's going to force out the Graviton here from LG Evil and the sound barrier, as they don't want to give Immortals any breathing room. But for Immortals, in a sense, it's still a win, where one Earth Shatter causing so many ultimates to come out just to secure this fight.
Well, that will be first point captured, though LG Evil threw a lot that they had to do at it. But now, at least not the prospect of getting held at first. 3:30 on the clock. Defense setting up in position on the high ground. A lot of this is going to be up to Train, one of the only heroes they have on this team right now to be able to contest the high ground, as Super has been on the Reinhardt the entire time.
Historically, when Immortals made their money on Dorado, when they were very good at it, they did it by having great second point defenses where they were able to keep teams off guard and really stop them from getting through streets relatively easily. We'll see if they're able to do that here again, although I do fear that Grim might be a little bit too far out this time. He's going to have to rejoin his team as LG Evil now potentially with an opportunity to really counter dive into Immortals. Very close here, but here comes Immortals with the Sound Barrier to initiate this fight.
Well, here comes the flanking visor as well, as Grim tries to jump down off the top, finding very little. In fact, finding nothing. Agilities will figure out Vol, though, and now this defense has stabilized. They push them back out here. Here comes the self-destruct. Doesn't look like he's going to find much. He does end up finding its way behind the cart, not an ideal position.
LG Evil's very scattered in how they're dealing with this here. They had people dead when they threw the Dragon Blade and self-destruct in, and Agility's treating Jake to his long-range special. Not LG Evil's finest moment.
I feel like they've been lacking on target.
Oh, piling on the Earth Shatter. Wow. All right, Nomi. They get right up to the spawn before they back up, so Immortals mixing in a little bit of the new aggressiveness here with some of their old style gameplay, and it's working out.
The question is, can they rotate up top here fast enough? They do have Lucio with them, so they will just rotate to high ground yet again. The issue I have with LG Evil on attack is that their target focus has not been there. There's a couple tanks in their face, and they're spreading damage out to both of them, where if they just collapsed on either Nomi or Agilities, they might be able to actually get up the kill. Now they're adding in another tank, as Hyped is over here on the Winston.
Bull's gonna drop the graviton here, trying to pull the defense. Super right there with the follow through, swings the hammer, and LG Evil finally finding a bit of a breakthrough. Super finds Verbo. Wrong wall to climb over, I suppose.
And when they've had their best moments tonight against Immortals especially, it has been Super and Vol doing all the heavy lifting. A quieter night from some of the DPS players on LG Evil, but that can change at any second.
Well, we have a minute, 15 seconds left. The payload moving forward, but Agility's getting that early pickoff. There's a chance for the defense to come right back in. Dragon Blade out from Jake, trying to seal it. Meanwhile, Hyped, nano-boosted Winston in on the point, trying to move people in and away from the payload, and it's a decent amount of damage, but it's Jake and Vol that are really cleaning up towards the back. Still, we have Primal Rage that can delay, but Hyped has to be careful that the payload is still fine in this situation.
Hyped cover gets bullied down. There is a sound barrier that comes out for the Immortals defense here as they continue to try to stall out the cart. That is a late Primal Rage hooked off, but Grim Reality got people in his sights.
I'm not sure the Primal Rage was needed towards the end if Grim was going to open up with the attack visor. The stalling was not entirely in sync, but they still are able to push LG Evil out, so it's successful for Immortals even if they throw a lot into it. Now, for LG Evil, I do think that they want to win here in Dorado. They are probably going to have to at least get into third. 20 seconds left remaining. A huge opportunity for Immortals to get a potentially series-winning stop right here.
Gonna see shades of old hammers. Now LG Evil, they will very likely boost one of their tanks. Super also has a chance for Earth Shatter.
Super walking right in. Will he thread the needle? No, he's gonna get slammed back by Nomi early on. Jake goes to the backline though. Nanoblade up and at the ready, takes down two, looking for the third. Super even gets his revenge on Nomi. And though Hyped gets a few kills, it's not going to be enough. LG Evil now looking like they will get to third and extend out this map just a little bit longer.
Well, I said they would probably just rely on Super and boost him, but that was old school. They just boosted Jake instead, and he finally came alive. The good thing for them, though, is that they will have Earth Shatter now. Different variations of the styles we've seen from LG Evil throughout their last couple of months in Overwatch as they've exploded onto the scene. Now in decent position, still have that Earth Shatter. Be interesting to see if they want to rotate up top. They're getting pushed out up top.
Well, Train right now a little bit late to the party and trying to go for a pulse bomb in this room. Not going to connect. They lose Super pretty early on here. Two tanks out, one for each side as Agility's now cleaning up and feasting on LG Evil in that close quarter situation. So LG Evil, I think they were a little bit confused as to whether or not they wanted to go up the side or up the middle, and they sort of went for a bit of both, and it's just not quite what they were looking for.
They sent three on both sides, and then the moment that Immortals noticed they weren't together and that they were getting some flanking pressure, they just bullied through the hallway. If you're walking upstairs in Overwatch and the defensive team sees you, you're generally going to lose that fight. You're just getting crushed on. Last push incoming. for LG Evil. Super still holding on to that shatter.
They're gonna open up here early. Graviton in from LG Evil, but it's a whole hog from Immortals stopping LG Evil from doing much of anything. A nano boosted whole hog no less. Eva gonna get knocked out of the mech immediately. Train already a bit out of this fight. Train has a sound barrier, or Jake has a sound barrier, looking for the Dragon Blade kills, but chooses Winston of all targets. And yes, you've gone down hyped, but is that enough in this situation where Grim is still in over the top? Finds one. Will he get more? A lot of damage was done to Immortals around the payload, so they haven't cleaned this up here just yet. But Grim looking to be a hero. In off the flank. It's high noon. He's on the elevation, he's not live. Skulls coming up. Not quite getting what he's looking for here, but will zone things back as Immortals reinforces to the payload.
They tried to boot the Reinhardt out of position to get an enormous Deadeye. They did not, but here comes an Earth Shatter from Nomi. He will die immediately after he hits it. Is the clean up there as Agilities comes back in on the Genji. It's still LG Evil.
It's Vol coming back in. LG Evil reinforcing, now getting serious momentum towards the end of the fight. Grim Reality having to back out here. It's not a great situation, but oh no, is this where McCree throws his body on the point? It is the saddest story. He just gets killed immediately. Nothing he could do. The Graviton comes in late, and LG Evil, when the backs were against the wall, they find a way of finishing things out here on Dorado as time runs out.
So close to not getting first, to not getting second, but Vol has turned it on. He had a bit of a rough start on a couple of the maps here. Jake, as I mentioned, was quiet most of that game, but when you're Genji and you're getting a boost, you only really need to have one good moment. That's what he had there. And LG Evil able to close out Dorado, which is not an easy map to close out. Immortals had moments. There's no time left in the bank for LG Evil, so Immortals can still bring it all the way to the end.
The thing that is really frustrating to me, if you are rooting for Immortals in any form or fashion here, is that they came very close to stopping LG Evil at multiple points. They were in the ballpark of getting a first point hold. They were incredibly close to getting a second point hold, and they were very close to holding before last. And every time when LG Evil was about to be finished off, they found a way through of turning the fight in their favor. And though it took every bit of time, they can still look back on this Dorado and be reasonably content because not every team is able to finish out Dorado in high-level competitive Overwatch.
There were a couple moments for Immortals where on a second-to-last push, most notably second, they used more ultimates than they needed to push them back. Now, I'll give LG Evil credit. They retreated in a lot of those situations, but the one that comes to mind is when they used Primal Rage and Tactical Visor. The Tactical Visor actually popped after Primal Rage got nothing because everyone was already retreating there. So throwing more resources into a fight that you don't have to meant they didn't have the resources up when the ultimate fight was actually coming towards those last moments. The economy needs to be better taken care of.
So we now get to see Immortals on their attack. Of course, still a very winnable map. They can bring it to the end. They can get a time advantage if they play this well. But they're going to have to get through the LG Evil defense in order to do it. We'll see just how this goes down as Agilities going to be looking for early hooks here as Immortals runs a very ground and pound type offense.
Not a whole lot of heroes that can take away high ground, and Jake is going to be on the Pharah, so he's going to be able to rotate to whatever high ground he so chooses. Of course, Grim is on the 76, which can give Pharah a lot of trouble, giving up a lot of free push, a different style of defense coming out here for LG Evil as they would like to fight rather in the archway. Now that they see no pressure in the arch, they know that stairs is the next target. We'll throw up some pre-fires up there to try to slow down the attack. Agilities misses his early hook, and not really all that action-packed so far. Both teams being very decisive.
Well, Immortals just wants to grind this down and win the shield battle. Also, I'm not super in love with Jake on the fair here. We'll see if it works out, but Super goes down immediately. Jake now goes around the flank, finds Athan, but it's kind of a slow start for him. 5 versus 5 as Immortals right now again, just slowly trying to win the shield battle and take this in. But Nomi's going to fall towards the back, so things starting to fall apart a little bit more here for Immortals. Grim making a move, going into backline, finds Rob 420 and actually gets out alive. Well done, Grim.
Not exactly what you expect, but now you know your respawns are going to come in a little quicker. You can take this as a 6v5 if you so choose, and especially when that person going down is an Ana. That is so much healing already out of the mix, and you see that from Evil. They do not want to fight without Rob back in the mix here, and it's a long walk.
Jake right now going into the backline, looking for perhaps a flanking barrage. He's going to drop it. Justice raining right on top of Verbo's head. It's a trade out. Pharah for Lucio. That's a decent trade. Here comes a Graviton in from LG Evil. They're trying to just finish this off here, but it's going to be met by the tactical visor of Grim in off the flank. No one is on Grim here, but he's only able to get one. There's a share from the Nomi a little bit late into the fight. Very back and forth here. Neither ultimate really getting as much as they want, but Hyped gets 3 kills off the cleanup, and Immortals might have just cracked this right through.
Super with a desperation ult as they had been anti-healed right before that moment. Both tanks bullied back into the corner. Hype able to find the cleanup. Where do they want to set up here? Hype taking a little different path. I think he's going to go up top, perhaps with Grim to try to keep Grim alive. Grim has been trying to run monster flanks. They work out with mixed success. He's already pressuring up top, though, so getting a lot of free damage in as everyone's trying to get poked down up top. Grim now has to rejoin his team.
Grim right now just looking to support, was looking for a sneaky flank. Comes back around the other way as Immortals begins their attack. Might have Jake in his face at the moment, but Train already had this fight, and Immortals, they seize an opportunity. They're going to use the sound barrier, man up, looking to pile on, and Hyped doing just that. Getting 2 kills here, supported by Agilities. And I do like how Immortals plays with their sound barrier, where as soon as they get a kill, they just drop it immediately and go in even deeper. Because then it's not just 6v6 with sound barrier, it's 6v5, and it's a much easier fight.
Absolutely. Immortals still rolling through right now as they've got impactful ultimates ready, Nomi and Hyped, both with their tank ultimates up. Grim also has his going, and Ethan will be able to boost him. They need to find a miracle. They need to find a way to trade out resources better. Does LG Evil, as they don't have much. A charge starts this off, but still no
The
kills.
counter engage, Hype shields himself, drops the graviton, they don't finish him, and it turns into a room of death. Oh my goodness, debated all day long. That is not good for LG Evil. They thought they were gonna get the quick kill on Hyped. Hyped just barely gets away and just punishes them severely. Quick second point take here for Immortals.
A lot of time remaining on the clock and still not much to work with here for LG Evil. Only Rob with his ult up. They need a hold of a lifetime. That said, Dorado Last is a point you can hold for 4 minutes easily.
We've seen holds on Dorado Last for even quicker times in first and second. So yes, LG Evil not out of it yet, but their margin for error has certainly gone way down. Cole taking the issue into his own hands, diving down onto that point, and takes that long charge into the back. It's taken out, and Immortals turning this fight back in their favor, in no small part due to Agilities landing some key hooks, but Super drops the hammer, knocks down 3. Reinhardt on Reinhardt violence. LG Evil gonna hold this back for a bit.
And Super is still having an immense game. Hyped is down in the corner. Super very afraid of Hyped after what has just happened, but Hyped will end up blasting himself with a right click into the shield. That is 1 stabilizing hold for LG Evil. As they look to rotate back up the stairs, you definitely want to be holding high ground on defense. There's really no other place to hold on Dorado Last.
3 minutes remaining here. Plenty of time for Immortals to punch this in. LG Evil must be near perfect, and they lose Rob 420 immediately. Agilities gives his life for it, but that's very worth. The Bionade goes to the back line. There's absolutely no healing going down to LG Evil right now. He's Hyped. You're on the back, holding on to the graviton, not seeing what he wants in pull. He'll be the first one to strike with the graviton, in and on the payload, but again, Immortals turning that fight to their favor, moving it right back around. Grim had to use attack visor in part for that, but now Hex 1 fight away from setting a much better time here in Dorado.
The counterplay has been astounding, and they've got 1 lockout ult available. They're waiting for Agilities to get back in here. If he whole hogs this door, they're just going to be able to get it.
They're about to get a sound barrier. The sound barrier from Verbo here could be absolutely deadly in this sort of situation where you're looking to fish off. And there it is. Sound barrier comes in. Everything is being used by Immortals to clean this up. They take down Bull immediately. Whole hog doing work into the back. Agilities going right to the spawn door. 4 hooks. Finds Rob 420. Everything going the way of Immortals, and they are going to finish this out with style. A time difference of 2 minutes and 5 seconds here. That's going to give them 3 minutes total when the Mercy minute is added to LG Evil.
I had heard that term before, Mercy minute.
It just sort of came out, but it is worth knowing because they had no time to begin with.
Yeah, it's a charity minute for sure. They just gifted to them. So 3:05 to see where that cart push can go. Of course, there is no real draw scenario here, as both teams end up finishing out the map, which, I don't know, given how the Overwatch Carbon Series has gone so far, nothing would surprise me at this point. Do you think, given the time differences, that Immortals still runs an aggressive defense?
Perhaps. I think this is a case where teams do question and go, do we go for something crazy here? We only have to defend for 1 minute. They're not going to have time to adjust. I think Immortals probably runs what they ran before. It worked out well for them in the last set of rounds. Why not go for it again? However, LG Evil, like a wounded animal here, I would not count them out. They can be scary when their back is against the wall. We have personally seen them come back with just obscene overtime payload pushes. So the scary thing here for Immortals is that they need to just be decisive here. They need to save up ultimates and just make sure LG Evil gets off the point when time is off, even if it means they concede a little bit more early on.
I think Immortals is not going to run as aggressive. It's going to be kind of this mix, the old standard of let's hold high ground. We'll rotate into archway if need be, because if you get accidentally caught out on the aggressive defense and you have those squishier targets, you can get snowballed very, very hard.
LG Evil, potentially tournament life on the line, moving in, and they find Verbo immediately. It's a very important early pickoff here for LG Evil. And this is going to allow them to really exercise their will over the courtyard early on. We'll see what they make of this here, but it's a great opportunity.
Jake getting a lot of free damage in on these tanks as they try to rotate up. The important thing is that they've been dodging hooks already. Agility's just thrown out a few without getting anything in there. An aggressive rocket onto the back line of Grim Realities here as he tries to poke him out. Another dive. Can they follow this one up?
Well, LG Evil is all in regardless, but Agility's all right back at them. Punishes Super in for the dive, and now you see Immortals counter pushing back in. The moment of opportunity that LG Evil had going away, and now they only have 4 seconds left remaining. Grim finishing out the cart with the tank play. And this payload stops right here. Hex, Immortals, they have 3 minutes to bring this payload just barely into the courtyard, and they will be the OCS champions.
After all of the trials and tribulations they have gone through, we saw them have to sub people out in other tournaments and get people in. And Immortals has used this tournament as a workshop. They have added so many things to their game. They are trying to become one of the most complete teams in North America, have a chance to put their stamp on it now and win back-to-back tournaments.
LG Evil, conversely, for a team that was dominant throughout most of the OCS, a team with by far the best record, now faced with the prospect of having to have one of the very best Dorado defenses we have ever seen in order to merely stay alive and get to a 5th map. These are not good odds for LG Evil, but if they're to be champions, they're odds they must face going into what could be this final round of Dorado.
A young team not have had to overcome adversity and problems in their short time, in their short existence, and now the ultimate test would be one of the best Dorado defenses we've ever seen. And looks like they're just going to grind it out. Why wouldn't you if Immortals? Just a very slow push. If you have 3 minutes on the clock, going to have to see stellar play out of everyone on LG Evil.
Immortals, 1 fight away from winning it all. Can they do it? A little under 3 minutes left in the clock. Both teams right now trading out poke. Every kill here, incredibly important.
Every rocket incredibly important. You see Jake staying so far away. He does not want to be the one who eats a hook, and he's going to be vulnerable to it as he can't rely on that shield help for him. Over top, they do know that they should be rotating to courtyard, is what they did before.
Jake's committing a little bit more to this. Looking for poke in over the top as Immortals comes up the stairs. Immortals playing this relatively slow. They know they just need 1 fight. They're not committing super heavily here, but I do think that they commit, it's going to happen soon as they worm their way around the courtyard.
It's almost too slow for my liking. You could have had 3 attempts at this. They will very likely only end up with 2 now. Still very patient, very slow. The hook comes in, does not hit anything. That's so important. Jake's still up over top. He's going to have barrage up. He's done so much both.
Jake needs again the supports right now. Now he's going to commit. Diving step back, ends up blasting himself away. It's not ideal, but on the card, Super finds Agilities. 5 versus 5. Jake in over the top, holding on to the barrage, not seeing a great opportunity. He goes down to 8th, and Ana out of nowhere. Here comes Grim. Immortals now getting a bit of momentum. LG Evil on the verge of losing here in the grand finals, and there's the finishing graviton. Immortals, they have done it. They are your Overwatch Carbon Series champions. They win it 3-1 here on Dorado.
So fitting that Hyped was the guy there at the end. We had questions about him, but he has been the undisputed captain, leader, whatever you want to call it, of this team since before they were Immortals. Great for him to have the performance he did on Zarya over the last couple days. Immortals, impressive, steady performance.
I just feel like that was one of the most tense defenses we've covered there in a while. Just sitting here, both teams slow playing it, everything on the line.
Well, every rocket matters, every hook matters, everything going on. It's just insanity.
But in the end, Immortals, their slow play pays off. Hyped is able to get that Graviton in towards the end, and they finally get a few kills to break it wide open, and that is the end to the Overwatch Carbon Series with Immortals getting to hoist the championship high.
They've got another title in their repertoire now. They are showing themselves as being a dominant force in North America, and we had a lot of questions throughout this season. It's been a 5-week season as to whether or not the praise that was being lauded on them from the community was merited based on their performance, and they just showed that their tinkering indeed was successful. And that's it. You have to also give it over to their opponents here. LG Evil played strong this entire event, and we even saw that they leveled up their game as well at moments. They just didn't need to level it up quite as much, apparently. But Immortals is able to find victory.
What is most impressive to me about Immortals is that in Overwatch, particularly in the Western scene, there is a general point of view where when your team is struggling, which Immortals was absolutely by any stretch of the imagination, they were struggling a few weeks ago. Teams handle it by swapping up their roster. They handle it by cutting someone off their roster and finding someone new. You saw that for many of the other OCS teams where they were really trying different replacements. Renegade's one of the key examples. Immortals, though, defying conventional wisdom, comes in here and goes, actually, we're totally happy with our guys. We're going to work through this. And they get through that rough stretch and come in very strong and peak during the playoffs and take out the other hottest team in LG Evil. That is great for Immortals as an organization that they're able to do that.
I completely agree with you, and there would have been so many teams who said, well, this guy's underperforming a bit. I mean, you could have made a case that Agilities was underperforming, and he's actually turned into the carry around. They understand and they trust each other, to your point, and they just put in the work. They put in the work to understand the game tape, to understand what is our weaknesses. Why are we losing here? We can't do this anymore. Let's try something else. And they have become a much more complete team because of it.
Yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better finish to an event that has been... I mean, this is like 6 months at least of my life now. Like, and I honestly was nervous coming into the playoffs. Just in general, I'm like, I hope the games are good. I just want everyone to enjoy watching. And yeah, it was an amazing finish, and I'm really glad that we were able to provide that. And it's a perfect end to a great season. By the way, before I forget, because I know a lot of people are probably starting to log into game, getting off the stream. There is one final thing that you're all going to probably want to see. We've got an amazing highlight video coming up after the stream closes, so just stay tuned. And this is my bait for you to have to listen to the rest of the things that I have to say. So, but you're only going to find out if I'm trolling you if you stay.
No, he's not wrong. I'll endorse it. You can trust me.
See, yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, there you go. If the esteemed Hexagrams agrees, then I think everyone...
No one's ever used that word to describe me.
No,
that just means you're a co-conspirator now, actually. So you know.
And I suddenly lost a lot of credibility, apparently, by using that on the first one. But yeah, well, let's just take a look at the bracket just to close things off. This is going to be our little button, or our bow to tie off the season. And as you can see there earlier, we did see Renegades picking up 3rd place with their victory against Complexity. But all of the hype is now in the hands of Hyped and Immortals as they were able to pick up victory against LG Evil 3-1 here at the end. And it didn't feel like a 3-1. It was definitely a close match. I can't wait to personally go back and rewatch those. I do want to just take this time. Well, actually, what are your final thoughts? Any closing remarks here to the fans at large before we take a little break from Overwatch?
I think for me, if I look at the series and where the real turning point was, yes, Dorado was very, very good for LG Evil. Very, very good for Immortals. But I think the real turning point was you go back onto Control. The fact that Immortals was able to win on Nepal, which was so good for LG Evil over the course of the tournament, I feel like that was where things were truly won here. Because you look at it in a different venue where Immortals is merely tying things up here at the very end rather than winning, I think going to a map 5, the maps would have been far more favorable to LG Evil in a 5th and final map. So for me, I really look at Immortals and their performance on Control as sort of, yes, this is where you guys won this, and well done to them.
I think just the trust of letting Hyped do what he did on those Control maps really comes through at just how much the team does trust each other, because he'd shown us almost nothing on some of his DPS there, and he's just been better on other heroes. So just the cohesion of the team and coming together there. LG Evil still a young team. There is now game footage on them, which I think is why they're losing more sets, but they have a ton of room to growth and an amazing amount of potential. So kudos to them, even though they're second place.
Yeah, and there's plenty more Overwatch to watch as these other events are starting to emerge. And I mean, it's just part of a rich tapestry that is the story of competitive Overwatch moving forward. And I'm just glad that we could be a part of it. I do want to give a shout out before we say adios to y'all, to our tech team. I was going to literally, I was going to make a list of everyone that's been involved. And I was just like, I don't want to bore you too much, but they have been amazing, and I think you'll both agree. They are really the reason that this has been as amazing as it is. And we did our part, but they were the ones that made us look good.
I don't get to sell out often anymore, but I will sell out for Carbon as a studio, as a company. They've been nothing but great to you and I and everyone who has been a part of this at all. Thank you so much for making us look decent up here.
Anytime you have a production like this, there's a lot of good men and women that are behind the scenes making everything happen, and that isn't always expressed, but big shout outs to people making things happen here in the back. It's been great.
Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign us off for the last time from the Overwatch Carbon Series here in the Carbon Studio. Stick with us. We have that little secret montage video coming right up. And have a great rest of your nights.
Not LG Evil's finest moment.
I feel like they've been lacking on target.
Oh, piling on the Earth Shatter.
Wow.
All right. No. LG Evil, though been bloodied, will be coming out of this as Jake dash resets, still alive and in on this point. All through pulse spot comes in from Trixie, has been able to hold strong. Jake goes back in, Mirage removing no meat from the equation if you were, but Hyped getting knocked right down. It's a great Earth Shatter by Super, setting the stage for 3 kills.
Off, but still no
The counter engage, Hyped shields himself, drops the graviton, they don't finish him, and it turns into a room of death.